Now, this is case number 314 on the calendar in the matter of Patino versus Martin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Both sides seat.
Ms. Patino, the defendant is your boyfriend's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
And each of you, in the exercise of what I'm sure is excellent judgment, each had a child with him.
Yes.
Right? Stand up next to her. It is your claim that Miss Martin, who's jealous and annoyed because you were fooling around with the boyfriend while he was with her, vandalized your car. Miss Martin says she's not jealous, she's very happy to be rid of him, and she never vandalized your car.
That's right.
So let's find out. What's your name?
Daniel Ayala.
How old are you, Mr. Ayala?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an assistant manager at a grocery store.
For how long?
Been with the company, it's going to be 6 years in November.
And how much money do you earn a year?
Between 30 and 35.
And how many children do you have?
2.
With Miss Martin, you have one child. How old is that child?
He's 2.
Pay child support for him?
Not through the course, just I just give her money every week when I get paid.
How much? How much do you give her every week?
She asked me for $40 a week, so I give her $40 a week.
So you give her $40 every week, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Who do you live with now?
I live at home and I also stay with her.
What do you mean you live at home and stay with her? What does that mean?
I stay at my mother's house and
How often do you stay at your mother's house?
probably like 2 nights a week.
And you stay with her?
Yes.
Where do you pay rent?
We give her mother money for rent.
Who's we?
Me and Carla.
Give who money for rent?
Her mother.
Oh, so you live with her mother?
Yes.
How much do you pay rent?
She gives her $200 a week. I mean, what, a month? $200 a month.
And you?
Well, I give her $60 a week.
You give her $60 a week?
Yes.
For what?
Just so I could give her money.
You understand that if you give Miss Martin $40 a week, which she's going to tell me you don't give her all the time, is that right?
No, I don't give it to her anymore.
Right?
Right.
Right? But if you did, that would be $5.74 a day. You look like you are a pretty good eater, Mr. Ayala. Can you eat on $5.74 a day?
Sometimes.
Really? Tell me where. Tell me where you
Fair
eat.
Play Foods Deli.
What?
My grocery store is deli.
Oh, because you get the food for nothing.
Pretty much.
Now, Miss Martin, did you vandalize Miss Patino's car?
No, I did not.
Miss Patino, how was your car vandalized and when?
Okay, it happened on Tuesday, October the 3rd this year. When I got out from work at 9 o'clock, I went to my car and I saw scratches around the car and 4 flat tires. But what happened was that she went to my job the same day around the time 6 and 6:30
Where do you work?
at a grocery store.
Same grocery store he does?
No, I work at Markham.
So she came to your grocery store. Don't move back and forth. You know what you just did? Showed me attitude.
Oh,
Right?
I'm sorry. I was just
Don't show me
wondering.
attitude. Only one attitude here.
I know. That's right.
Go ahead. So she came to your grocery store.
Yes, she went to my register and she was talking to her friend, and then she received a call, and it was from my boyfriend, and she...
What did you call her for?
Because she called me. I was at work and she called me. I couldn't get to the phone. So I just called her back whenever I could, like 5 minutes later.
What was the purpose of the call?
Because right now my son is in Mexico with his parents for 2 months, and the only way I can get through with him is by him calling and translating for me, which he stopped all of that, so I haven't talked to my son at all because he won't call for me.
What is your son doing in Mexico?
He went to go visit his great-grandparents with his grandmother
And when do they do back?
next week.
It was very nice of you to let him go.
I know, and this is the things I get.
It was very nice of her to let him go.
Yeah, I didn't think she was going to do it.
But she did.
I'm very thankful.
Very nice, because she had to sign a paper
Right.
allowing him to go, because in Mexico they have those laws that don't permit you to take a baby or a child unless
Right.
both parents go. So she had to sign to let him go. Did you sign with the date that they had to return? What was the date they had to return?
November 10th.
And it says so in the paper that you signed. Is that right?
Yes, either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after.
November 10th.
Right.
Okay, good. When are your parents due home?
November 10th.
They are coming home, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes would be the answer.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so she came to your register. There was a phone call. Go ahead.
Yeah, and she was talking on the phone, and I heard when she asked him, "What are you doing after work?" And she said, "Oh, you're picking up your little girl." So when she hung up the phone, her friend asked her what he's doing, so I thought, she's talking to him. And then her friend asked her, oh, I can't wait for you to have that baby.
What baby?
I think she's pregnant. I don't know.
You pregnant?
No.
Go ahead, let's go.
Okay, she said, I'm going to abort it. And when she was leaving my register, she told me, don't tell Danny my business. And I turned around and told her, I don't care about your business. And then when she was leaving, she started cursing at me, threatening me that she was going to come back at 10 to find me. So,
okay, and then you went outside and found your car damaged.
Yes, and when I got out from work at 9 o'clock, I went to my car and I saw all scratches around the car and 4 flat tires. I called the police, they came, and then my boyfriend received a call from her admitting it that she did damage my car.
Did you receive a call from her?
I actually called her. She didn't answer, and then she called back.
And what was the conversation? Shh, don't speak. What was the conversation?
The conversation was...
Look at me.
The conversation was just like...
Look at me.
Like, whoa, like, did you do anything to Carla's car? And then she's like, no, I didn't do anything to her car. And then I'm like, did you flatten all her 4 tires and scratch all her car? She's like, I didn't do anything. And then she just started being very boisterous and just saying a bunch of stuff I couldn't even understand. And then she was just like, you're lucky I didn't bust all her windows too. And I was just like, wow. And then she just hung up, and I kept trying to call back, like, Deasia, what's the big deal? What happened? What is going on?
And
she just wouldn't answer. I even left the messages like, how could you do this? It's just childish.
did you speak to her?
Yes, I called her and asked her why did she damage my car when I have never done nothing to her. And then she said, you know what, I'm tired of you. You have everything. I'm just sick and tired of you. And you're lucky.
No, say nothing until I ask you. I'm going to give you a chance.
And you're
Go ahead.
lucky I didn't pop your windows too. And then she started screaming and arguing, and I couldn't understand her, so I hung up the phone on her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just so happens that you ended up at her register of the 7 registers that are in the
Because
supermarket.
her register was the only one that didn't have a lot of stuff there.
Baloney!
And later today,
She had asked me if I wanted to take the TV, and I told her yes.
Well, who was supposed to pay for it?
I assumed it was going to be a gift.
In the midst of this hostile situation, you thought that she made you a $4,000 gift.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carla Patino claims her boyfriend's ex, Deasia Martin, vandalized her car by keying it.
Okay, now I'll hear you, Miss Martin.
We went to her job, not knowing if she was working or not. Don't know her schedule. Don't know what time she'd be there.
Where do you live?
I live in Chicago on 16th in Michigan.
And how far is that from where Miss Patino works?
It's say 15 minutes.
Now, you and I both know that there, between where you live and where she works, there are other grocery stores where you can shop.
Right, but also...
So I want to know, first thing, why you went to her grocery store. I don't care whether she was working there or not, whether you knew she was working there or not. I want you to explain to me what you were doing in her grocery store.
My friend came and picked me up from work. Actually, I work in Homewood at Taco Bell, and my friend came and picked me up, and she stays in that area. I was with her grocery shopping, and then we went to Fairplay and went shopping. We didn't go up there to start anything.
Just a second, Miss Martin. Let's go back. You knew that Miss Patino worked in that Fairplay.
Right.
How big a supermarket is it?
How big is it?
Yeah.
It's like a normal supermarket.
Big supermarket?
Right.
How many registers are there?
There's 7 registers.
So you went to her supermarket, and just so happens that you ended up at her register of the 7 registers that are in the
Because
supermarket.
her register was the only one that didn't have a lot of stuff there, and we only had a couple of things.
Baloney!
It's not
But
baloney.
listen to me. Baloney. Chicago is a big place. I want you to understand something. When something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And if I weren't looking for trouble, I would not go out of my way to go shopping at a... Pay attention, put on your listening ears before you start with the attitude.
Go ahead.
I would not go to a supermarket where my ex-boyfriend's girlfriend works to go shopping. I would say to my girlfriend, who was going shopping with me, I don't want to go to that Fairplay. That's where Danny's girlfriend works. I don't want to go there because, we don't get along. I want to go someplace else. And if you want to go to Fairplay, drop me off first. But you didn't say that. First you went shopping. And it wasn't a big shopping because you really didn't need a lot of stuff because, according to you, you chose her register because all you had was a few things. So it wasn't that you were doing a week's worth of grocery shopping and this was the only game in town. And of the 7 registers, you chose her register. Bad form, madam. You get me?
I got you.
Bad form. Now, you're going to tell me that you never said to Danny or to her, You're lucky I didn't pop your windows out. You're going to tell me that you said that.
I didn't say that.
Right. And you're going to tell me that you didn't do her flatten tires.
No, I did not.
Well, either you did or your girlfriend did.
I don't know who did.
Well, but you're going to pay for it. So you better
how
try to
pay for
figure out.
something that
You
I did
better
not do?
absolutely did it.
I didn't
Because
do it.
if somebody is dumb
do
enough,
she have any
don't
proof
speak
of-
when I'm speaking. Don't speak when I'm speaking.
She
If
don't have
somebody's
no proof
dumb
of
enough,
these,
if
stabbing her
somebody,
tires or
hey,
anything.
hey, you see my mouth moving? If somebody is dumb enough in all the supermarkets in Chicago to pick hers, and if somebody is dumb enough of all the registers available to go to her register, then they are dumb enough to take a car that was parked without flat tires several hours before and flatten the tires and scratch the car. And if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. How much did it cost you for the tires?
I have paid for it. It was $2.80 and 11 cents.
And how much did it cost you to fix the scratches on the car?
The scratches, I haven't fixed them. I just got an estimate.
And what was the estimate?
The two estimate.
The lowest one.
$2,127.90.
And what kind of car do you have?
I have 2000 Chevrolet Metro.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
For her to have low self-esteem and let him put everything in her head
She knows that I'm doing good in life, and she's not, and she's jealous.
and make it seem like I'm jealous of him, which I don't want him.
Because, you know, my boyfriend, he's with me because he decided to be with me.
And if I did, I can have him, and I'm being nice enough and giving him up.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gill versus Johnson, step forward, please.
Erin Gill is suing her former live-in boyfriend, Stephen Johnson, for a plasma TV he took from their home when he moved out. Stephen claims the TV was a gift from Erin.
Ms. Gill, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend. You lived together for, I don't know, 5-6 months. Is that about right?
A little longer than that, but
And
close.
according to your complaint, when things didn't work out and you left, he agreed to keep the 42-inch plasma television set and make payments on it. It was bought on your credit. He kept the TV. He didn't make the payments. You want the payments made.
Correct.
The defendant says that things didn't work out, but as soon as you moved in together, you started purchasing things for the apartment, furniture, etc., all kinds of stuff. When he left with the clothes on his back and the TV. So you kept everything else, and the TV is supposed to be his. Is that right, sir? That's your defense?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a truthful defense?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever agree to make payments on the TV?
No, ma'am.
When did you move in together, Mr. Johnson?
Approximately sometime last year, I believe, in the middle of the year.
June 2005.
And when did you separate?
January of 2006.
And whose apartment was it?
It was under Erin's name. She was on the lease.
You moved in together?
Correct.
When you moved into the apartment, where did you move from?
I moved from my residence that I had shared with my husband.
And you?
From one of my friend's houses.
So you came with no furniture?
No.
Did you come with furniture?
Yes.
What did you come with?
I came with couches, a television, tables. I purchased a bed shortly after moving into the residence, so.
What items do you say you purchased for the residence, Mr. Johnson?
Well, previously to that, I had 2 dresser drawers, a barbecue set, a couple scenic television portraits, another television that I bought into the apartment to furnish it.
Another TV?
Yes.
How large a TV?
It's a 19-inch television set.
How much did you pay for it?
Off the top of my head, approximately about $150.
And where was that, in the bedroom?
I believe it was her son's bedroom.
And you left that TV?
Yes.
And the dressers, drawers, and that stuff, those were not things that you purchased?
Earlier, but not jointly.
Okay. Now, when you left, did Miss Gill say you couldn't take any of these things with you?
No.
So you could have taken your little 19-inch TV, whatever dresser drawers that you left there, you could have taken it with you, right?
Yes.
Because although they probably weren't happy with each other, this was not a hostile separation, right?
It had the potential of being hostile, but
But it wasn't. Now, why, Mr. Johnson, would Miss Gill, who has a child, why would she make a gift to you of $3,700 for a television set?
basically, I mean, I left all the items in there, didn't retrieve them.
What?
The dressers.
You could have retrieved them. They were valueless.
I could have, but at that point in time, the relationship had become so dramatic, I just didn't want anything to do with her, and I just didn't want to go back. And when I left, basically, with the clothes on my back,
And the one item of value, which was this $4,000 television set.
and she had asked me if I wanted to take the TV, and I told her yes. And I took the
she
TV.
said, take the TV. And what you're telling me is she said, take the TV and I will pay for it?
No.
Well, who was supposed to pay for it?
Well, when she asked me, I assumed it was going to be a gift.
You mean in this... Listen. Ms. Johnson, so what you're telling me is in the midst of this hostile situation, because you used the word hostile,
I'm sorry?
You used the word hostile.
Yes.
You know, potentially hostile. You thought that she made you a $4,000 gift.
Well, along with all the stuff that I left in the apartment, I mean...
You left a lot of junk in the apartment, Mr. Johnson.
Maybe junk to you, but it wasn't to me.
Tell me what was there that you wanted. The 19-inch television set? That could have fit under one arm. She wasn't preventing you from taking it.
I could have also taken the dresser drawers and...
Well, you could have, but you took the $4,000 television set.
She asked me if I wanted it, so I'm not going to turn it down.
Go ahead.
I asked him if he wanted everything. I told him the date I was moving out of the apartment and told him if he did not pick up his belongings that were still at the residence, I would donate them to charity or drop them off at his parents' house, whatever worked for him, and he did not respond to me.
Tell me about the television set.
What would you like to know?
I want to know, what arrangement did you make for him to pay the television set?
We went into Paul's TV, which he researched and found that they had the best prices on televisions.
No, it's purchased.
It's purchased.
Already.
Okay.
Purchased on your credit card.
Right. So we buy the TV, we're in there. It was originally going to be in Steve's name, and there came up some issues with his credit, so they...
I heard that already.
Okay.
I want to know when you were exiting, the exit strategy with regard to the TV.
When he left?
Yes.
When he did leave, he left with just his clothes. We had a few phone conversations, and he came to get the rest of his clothing and other miscellaneous belongings. And at that point, we had a conversation about the TV. And I said, would you like to take the TV and you can pay for it, or I'll keep the TV and pay for it? He said he'll take it and pay for it, and never did.
That sounds right. Nobody's going to make you a gift of $3,700. Is that what you owe on the TV?
It's $37.26.
Can I see it, please?
And here's the payoff statement as of yesterday from Wells Fargo.
Well, the total price was $37.26. You mean nobody paid for it?
No, he's been receiving monthly bills at his parents' house, and he hasn't made any payments.
So you had this TV for 6 months and nobody paid for it?
It was a no interest, no payments for, I believe, 1 or 2 years.
It was a special promotion they were running. It's
Yeah.
No money down, no interest, no payments. I don't believe the year has passed by. That's why there's no money due yet.
Well, that's not the issue. The issue is, at this point, you have said that you have no intention of paying this. Is that right?
Completely. Yes.
Okay. $37.26. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
All rise. Now it's case number 333 on the calendar in the matter of Huntley versus Huntley.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Huntley, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You've been together for quite some time, I assume, and you have one child together.
Yes.
Your complaint is that when you broke up, Mr. Huntley agreed that he would take over half of the credit card debt. He made a couple of payments and then stopped. You also claimed that he used a car that belonged to you and caused some damage to the car and vandalism to the car. You wanted to take care of that. Mr. Huntley said he walked out of the house, leaving you in the house with your child. How old is your child?
My son is 7.5.
And he left with his clothes, and that's it. Everything that was purchased on that credit card remained in the house, and he doesn't see why in the world he should pay for it.
Yes.
And with regard to the car, his defense is that any vandalism that was done to the car was paid out by your insurance from an act of vandalism that had nothing to do with him, and you chose not to have the car fixed, but to pocket the insurance money, and therefore he's not paying for it because you already got paid for it, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Good. You lived together from when to when?
February of 2003 until October 8th of 2006.
When and why did you leave, Mr. Huntley?
The relationship just didn't work out. It was an agreed upon thing. It wasn't like I just stormed out. I mean, both of
Okay,
us
so you
were
agree. So it
unhappy.
was a civilized, orderly
Yes,
arrangement.
We were both unhappy.
What arrangement did you make, Mr. Huntley, with regard to the debt?
I had been paying pretty much all of the, I mean, I had a full-time job and I was going to school, making financial aid and some scholarships, and that was all going to bills while she was only going to school for about 4 years. When I left, I was still paying the credit card bills, but it didn't take a long time to figure out that what was going on was it was an attempt to make sure I didn't have enough money to survive, and I couldn't. Right now, she's living in a 2-bedroom house with hardwood floors, with 2 cars in the driveway. She's got a college degree. I think she's had a job for a little while. I'm sleeping on my dad's couch.
The credit card bills were how much?
We have $38,000 in credit card debt over the course of our 3-year relationship. He'd been paying half the payment on all of the 5 cards, and I had also been paying half a payment on a card that is only in his name, on not my name at all. Our credit cards have both of our names. We're both joint signers on these cards. We just made the arrangement that, you know, hey, you would pay half and I would pay half the minimum payment. And that went on until September. And in September, he told me, I need to save for my own place. I have a new girlfriend. Or October, I have a new girlfriend. I just bought a new truck after I lost $1,500 selling our truck that was in joint of our names. And I don't have the money to pay it. So you're just going to have to deal with it yourself. It's not my problem.
Well, you have to deal with it, and he has to deal with it, because if they're joint credit cards, they're going to come after both of you.
Absolutely.
So, what are you doing in court? Here.
He won't pay the credit card.
They're going to come after him. They'll attach your salary, they'll attach his salary.
Well, Your Honor, I have a credit score of 760. His credit score is now 720, but when we met, it was in the 500s and mine was in the 700s. And
Miss Huntley, how many years since 2003 were you employed?
None of those years was I legally employed.
Well, you're not going to stand here in court and tell me you were illegally employed.
I went to school and I had scholarship funds. I had 8 different scholarships, of which I got about $2,800 a month take-home cash.
That you don't have to pay back?
I do have loans. I have student loans.
Of
but
course you do.
some of that I do not have to pay back.
The answer is you did not work. He worked. He provided for the household while you were living together. You have to remember, folks, you're not married. We don't have courts in this country for almost marrieds living together, trying it out. We don't have courts for that. If this was a marital situation, I would have no problem. I would say, listen, you have credit card debt, you're responsible for half, and you're responsible for half. That's it. Goodbye and good luck. But that's not the case. The truth of the matter is that if you have $38,000 worth of credit card debt from 2003 in February until 2006 in October, he paid the credit cards.
No, he didn't. He was unemployed for 6 months of that time straight.
Well, you were unemployed for 4 years. Somebody had to pay for these cars.
But I wasn't unemployed. I brought home $2,800 a month every month, except for July and August.
What did you do with it?
I paid as many bills as he did: car payments, credit card payments, food, clothing. All kinds of stuff.
It's very, very interesting, Miss Huntley. I have no idea how you did that, because I educated a whole bunch of kids, and nobody ever gave them $2,800 a month in cash in addition to what they were getting. So you got some kind of gig going here that probably the rest of the civilized world would like to know about.
I have a 3.8 GPA, and I'm an engineering student, and I volunteer 170 hours a year.
Fabulous. What do you want me to do? You want me to say to him, what you should do is pay half the bills?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'll say to him, what you do should be half the bills. Be nice if you paid half the bills. That's a moral judgment. These bills are in both of your names, and eventually the credit card companies who have advanced to you foolishly $38,000 in credit card expenses are going to come after both of you for the return of this money.
Your Honor, I'm making the payments because I understand how important credit is. I would like to go on with my life.
And
I'm making the payments regardless of whether he is.
Don't you, Mr. Huntley?
I do, but I only have so much money, and it's getting to the point where I have to choose.
Are you paying child support?
Yes.
No.
Oh, interesting.
No, he has not paid child support, and he has not made a payment on any credit cards since August.
I was just requested to make child support payments 2 weeks ago by the state.
Mr. Huntley, requested by whom?
The state.
The state, because he wouldn't pay it.
I was never asked to pay it.
Just a second.
I've been paying all these other bills.
Listen, you may be angry. I don't know what you're angry about. I don't know. The truth of the matter is, I really don't know what you're angry about. I was going to jump down his throat when he said I was never asked to pay it, because that's not an answer. When you have a child, you're supposed to pay child support. You don't have to be asked by anybody to pay child support. Child has to eat. Both parents are responsible for that. How much are you paying in child support?
$200 a month right now.
$200 a month is not a lot of money, Mr. Huntley.
No, it's not. At the time when I was requested to make child support payments, my paychecks are $800 or $900, and she asked for $600 or $700 every 2 weeks for bills.
Well, you can't do that and pay child support.
I can't do that and pay child support.
I haven't asked for child support until he stopped paying on the bills.
Oh, well, but just a second. But then you did.
I only want what's fair. I only want half of our debt.
Miss Huntley, what you have to do, my dear, if you want half the debt, is you have to get married. That's what happens. That's what happens. Otherwise, you're coming into court, and there is no jurisdiction that I know of for almost marrieds. He can't pay half the credit card bills and the child support order that should be a lot more than $200 a month, quite frankly, Ms.
And it will be. I put an appeal to have it raised to $640 is what he's going to end up paying, which is just enough to cover the minimum payments on the credit cards.
Well, then you shouldn't have made such extensive credit card purchases. What do you want from me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You chose to live without benefit of marriage. I don't know why. Maybe it had to do with your scholarships. I'm not sure. Quite frankly, I don't have the time to figure it out.
And later today,
If I believe what you're telling me, which I don't, your mother stole the money that you were giving her, and therefore they repossessed your car and you wanted to get it back.
That's the truth.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 24-year-old Heidi Huntley claims ex-boyfriend Eric Huntley owes for half of their credit card debt.
Now, the two of you chose not to get married. You chose for whatever economic reason to live without benefit of marriage. I don't know why. Maybe it had to do with your scholarships. Maybe it had to do with something else. I'm not sure. Quite frankly, I don't have the time to figure it out. But if you chose to do that, you can't come to court and say, listen, now you have to go through our assets and liabilities. If I were to go through your assets, if I were to go into your home, Miss Huntley, and look at what you have in your home, would anything in your home be the product of the purchases that were made on these credit cards?
Some things.
And did Mr. Huntley take any things out of the home when he left other than his clothes and personal effects?
No, but some of those things were also on these credit cards.
No, just a second. I don't care. I'm talking about his clothes and personal effects. I'm not talking about beds and refrigerators or washer dryers or anything else that it goes to set up a household.
No, I kicked him out and he took nothing.
Right. Well, then you pay the bill. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wants to make sure that I can't live a successful life without her. I mean, it's either come back to her or be miserable.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Serrano versus Lugo. Step forward.
23-year-old Patricia Serrano is suing her former friend, Elda Lugo, for a $3,500 loan plus interest. Elda claims Patricia gave her the money from a large settlement.
Ms. Serrano, according to your complaint, the defendant is a friend of yours from high school. She ran into some financial difficulty some time ago and approached you about lending her some money.
Yes, Judge.
You were a good friend. You lent her the money, $3,500. She didn't pay you back. You want your money back.
Yes.
Ms. Lugo says that you were a good friend to her. You gave her $3,500. You would come into some money. There was never any discussion of payback. As far as she was concerned, it was a gift.
That's true. Differ.
When did you graduate from high school, Ms. Lugo?
In June of 2001.
And between June of 2001 and the date of this loan or gift, which was on what date?
Last year, around August or July.
How often did you see each other?
After high school, we didn't see each other because we stopped being friends. And after she had a really bad car accident, her mom came and I started being her friend again. That's when we started.
What year?
I honestly do not recall what year she had a car accident.
What year?
It was in 2002, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about the day you approached Ms. Serrano with your money troubles.
I did not approach her. I was just telling her my problems that I had with my family.
Shh, I don't. Listen, if you interrupt again, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand?
Yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just told her I was having really hard times with my parents. I was having a lot of financial problems.
What kind of financial problems were you having, Miss Lugo?
My mom stopped making the payments, so they took my car from me.
How old are you?
23.
Why was your mother making your car payments for you?
Because we're both on the loan, and I was giving her the money, and she was making the payments out of her account.
Who were you working for at the time?
Bay Cities National Bank.
So why weren't you paying the money directly?
Because that was just an arrangement that I had with my mom.
And are you saying that your mother stole your money?
I'm not saying she stole the money. I'm just saying that she wasn't making the payments, and they took the car from me.
So you're saying that if you gave your mother the money and your mother wasn't making the car payments,
she was using it for something else.
That she stole your money?
I guess.
And you told Ms. Serrano that your mother stole your money and they repossessed your car?
I told Patricia the problems that I was having with my parents and why they took my car from me.
Miss Lugo, I don't hear that that's a problem that you're having with your parents. If I believe what you're telling me, which I don't, you're telling me that your mother stole the money that you were giving her for your car loan and using it for her own purposes, and therefore they repossessed your car and you wanted to get it back.
Right.
Now, is that what you want me to believe?
That's the truth. That's exactly how everything's always been.
When did you move out of your mother's house?
Early September.
So you stayed in your mother's house another year after she stole your money?
Actually,
see where I'm going? So you had more financial difficulties than just this alleged theft by your mother of your money.
I couldn't just leave my house and just leave everything, like all my parents and my sisters behind.
Well, if I were living with somebody that stole my money and as a result of that my car was repossessed, I certainly wouldn't live there.
In June, I actually drove to Vegas, and I was going to move over there with my cousin.
That's June 2006. We're still talking about 10 months that you were living with your mother, the thief, if I believe you. Which
Right, I
don't.
really didn't have a choice. I mean, I am a
Okay, you're
I'm a
23 years old.
student.
You always have a choice. Okay, now I'm going to get to you, Ms. Serrano. Now that I'm getting the personalities in order.
Yes.
Tell me what happened when she approached you in August of 2005 about this money.
Well, she told me the story that her car had gotten repossessed.
Did she tell you how it got repossessed?
Well, she didn't give me a straight answer. I never really did get straight answers from her.
That's a lie.
Don't interrupt. Go ahead.
You know, she came to me, she said, Patty, I haven't been able to make the payments. My mom and my dad aren't helping me out. I just don't have anywhere else to go to for money.
That's not true.
And I said, well, if you need help, feel free to come to me. She said, well, thank you so much. And a couple of days later, she came to me. She said, Patty, I need to take you up on your offer. Can you lend me $3,500? And I said, sure thing, I'll write you a check. And I'm not too sure if it was a day or two later that she said, it's too much trouble to go about, you know, with the check. I can't cash it. She even told me that her mom had found the check and was questioning her about the check.
That's not true.
Why, you know, why I was giving her a check for $3,500. And she said, well, I'll give you back the check, and can you please give me $3,500 in cash? I said, wow, you know, I'm like, okay, let me see what I can work out. And I went to the bank, withdrew $3,500 cash.
Let me see from your bank. The
Yeah,
withdrawal.
it's right here. It's highlighted in yellow.
Where did you get all this money from?
I was involved in a very serious car accident in 2002, and I got a small settlement out of it.
Large settlement.
Oh, that's interesting, Miss Lugo. Did you say a large settlement? How large?
I don't know.
When you said it was a large settlement, you must know something about the settlement.
That's all she would always say. She got a large settlement. Never wanted to ask
I never
how much.
told you anything.
Shh. When did she tell you about this large settlement?
After she was recovering from her injuries.
When did you get the settlement?
Sometime in 2004.
You still have any of the money left?
Yes, I do. Some in investments.
Good. So you gave her $3,500 in cash.
Yes.
And what was the arrangement about paying you back?
She said, okay, Patty, you know I wouldn't have done this if I really didn't need it. Believe me, I'm going to have this money to you tops the end of the year when I get my bonus from the bank.
That's not true.
So I said, okay, you know what?
What part of keep quiet don't you understand?
End of the year came, I didn't see the money. She said, well, you know, I just need a couple of more months, whatever. And I said, okay, you know, just don't forget about it. You know, I'm being your friend here.
When for the first time, Miss Lugo, did the plaintiff ask for this money back?
Early September.
That's a lie.
So what part don't you understand?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation when she asked you for the money back.
She started calling me at work and she started emailing me at work.
What would she say when she called?
She was just calling me, telling me that she needed to meet me somewhere.
When did she, for the first time, ask you for the money back? Answer my question.
I believe her first email was September 7th.
That's not true.
Shh. Next time you're gone. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I assume you want me to consider giving you your money back.
Yes, please.
Then don't do it again. September 6th, and what did she say in the email? Do you have a copy of that email?
No, I don't.
Do you have a copy of the email?
Yes.
I want to see the email from September 6th.
She emailed me a promissory note that she wanted me to sign, that she saying that I owed her the money, and because.
Shh. Well, you emailed her and you said to her that you planned on giving her the money.
Yeah, she was calling me at work nonstop, and she was just harassing me.
No, this has nothing to do with a response to harassment.
That's only the email that she gave you, but she didn't tell you about the phone calls that she was making to work.
I just want to see the emails. This is Wednesday, September 6th, and it's a lovely email. Absolutely lovely. You're happy for her. You're happy that she's happy. Hey, I'm not sure what's gone wrong between us again, but I really appreciate everything you have done for me and the times you've been there for me. I guess we are once again going our own separate roads. If it's the money thing, it's stopping you, don't worry. I will give it to you. Do me a favor. Please do not email me at the bank. I get in trouble for receiving personal emails.
My manager talked to me, and she was telling me that I was receiving too many personal emails. She emailed me.
Listen to me. She wants her money back.
Yeah, after she was trying to get with my boyfriend, she was trying to hook up with
lie.
my boyfriend,
That is a
and
lie.
I confronted her about it. Until then is when she came back and wanted me to sign a promissory note and said that the gift that she gave me for $3,500 was then the loan.
I don't see why somebody who doesn't look like they're rolling in dough would give you $3,500 and not expect to be repaid at some point. Not necessarily in a week, not necessarily in a month or 6 months or even a year. But someday, within a reasonable period of time, when you got your act together, if you ever get your act together, she expected her money back. And to stand there at this point and say, well, she tried to get over on my boyfriend, and that wasn't right, and therefore I'm not paying her a dime, that's the wrong thing to do. It's not the moral thing to do. You want to end a relationship with her? Terrific. Do it. You're not friends anymore? You don't want to be friends anymore? Fine. But she was there for you when you needed her, and you're supposed to do the moral right thing and pay her her money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's all.
That's case number 272 on the calendar in the matter of Munson versus Schnipko-White. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Munson, you and the defendant lived together on and off for about 3 years, according to the complaint that I read.
Yeah.
You have one child together, and the defendant has one from another relationship. It is your complaint that when this miserable relationship finally terminated, the defendant cleaned out the apartment of property that belonged to you. You want your property back. It is suggested in the complaint that you have a domestic violence problem, which means a short fuse and or an assaultive personality, and that the defendant has an alcohol problem. And these two children, unfortunately, have to suffer through all of that. The defendant says she took only the property that was hers, and she is counterclaiming for the assault that she alleges was perpetrated by you, which caused this final separation. Is that correct?
Correct.
You lived on and off for 3 years. How old is the child that you have together?
1.
And how old is your other child?
My son is 10.
And there was a time when both of these children were removed from your custody by Child Protective Services.
No.
Just 1.
Just 1. Actually, my ex-husband and I have joint custody. I had physical care of my oldest son up until 2005, and then physical care went over to my ex-husband, and it went from him having weekends to me having weekends, Your Honor.
That was through Child Protective Services?
No, not on my son, just on Emma, Your Honor.
Just on our daughter.
So Child Protective Services did not remove the older child and place the older child in foster care, but they removed the younger child. How old was Emma when she was removed?
She was 5 weeks old, but it was in my relative. I'm sorry, 5 weeks old, Your Honor.
Why was she removed?
The defendant had put bruises. I have pictures of what he did to her and what he did to me at the time, and this is why she was removed.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. And he was actually founded for the abuse on her face and pleaded out to the abuse on me.
Judge, there is another thing that is being removed for that, for being both of us being founded for that bruise on her, and it's still in our appeal.
Who's responsible for the bruises on the defendant?
That's me.
That would be you?
I pleaded guilty, yep.
How many times did you plead guilty to assault?
Just once.
He was arrested several times, sorry.
Prior to your relationship with the defendant, were you involved in another relationship?
Yes.
Were you ever arrested with regard to that relationship for domestic violence?
We both were, yes.
Didn't ask about both. I said you.
Yes, I did.
What are you smiling about?
Because it's not nice for me what I did. I regret it.
Well, then why are you smiling? That's an inappropriate affect. You know what they say about inappropriate affect? They usually say that you're crazy when you have inappropriate affect. Is your grandmother still alive?
1, yes.
Okay, if somebody said to you that your grandmother died, would you smile?
Probably not.
Right, because that would be an appropriate affect. You would look sad. You would say, oh, my goodness. So when I ask you about who did this and whether you were ever arrested for domestic violence and you smile, it's inappropriate.
Sorry, Judge.
You did it again. What stuff do you claim she took? Let's just get to it.
Tools.
Tools. You have his tools?
I have pictures of what tools I have. There's no way anything in the house was supposed to...
Listen to me.
Yes.
Stop shaking.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
You have his tools?
No, not the tools that he claims.
I don't care tools he claims. The tools that you have. You have tools.
1 toolbox and 1 tote of tools.
Good. Very, very good. You're going to return those to him?
I absolutely will.
Absolutely. Within 5 days. You get your tools back, sir, within 5 days. What else do you claim she has of yours?
Leather jacket.
A leather jacket. Do you have it?
I could have it. I wore it when I was pregnant.
Listen to me very carefully. I want you to give him back his leather jacket. Okay. Perfect. What else?
A pool stick. There's
a pool stick?
Yeah.
You never hit her with it.
List.
Look at me. I'm talking. You never hit her with the pool stick, did you?
No.
Do you have his pool stick, madam?
I don't believe so.
She has no pool stick. What else?
Half a utility bill.
Forget it.
And my Mark Martin perb.
You what?
My NASCAR stuff.
Your NASCAR stuff. What kind of NASCAR stuff?
Mark Martin paraphernalia, you know, like cars.
I have no idea. You're mumbling, you're garbling your words.
Mark Martin cars, there's like number 6, the race car NASCAR.
A race car number
Yep.
6. Do you have his race car
We
NASCAR?
redid my son's room in NASCAR, and he gave this Mark Martin stuff. My son's a junior fan.
That's
He gave it
not
to my
true,
son
Your
in his
Honor.
room.
Just 1 second. I want you to consider it a gift to the 10-year-old. What's next?
That's
it.
That's it.
Listen, within 5 days, you're going to return to him in a nice box his tools that you have and his leather jacket.
Okay.
You're going to look around and see if you can find his pool cue.
Okay.
If you can find his pool cue, you're going to send it to him. Who are you?
Sorry, I'm his mother.
I wouldn't acknowledge that fact before all these people. Madam, do you hear what I just said? He sued for his property. He just told me what his property was. Don't help him. That's what he says his property was.
Excuse me, Judge.
He didn't understand, I'm sure.
He didn't understand? That's not my problem. I didn't raise him. That's your problem. You raised an abuser. That's your problem. I would take care of that before I took care of anything else.
I went through my class on that, excuse me, Judge.
Let me explain something. Did you go through the class the last time you beat up a woman?
I didn't have to because we was a mutual agreement.
Mutual combatants.
He graduated BEP and did it
Listen.
again. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
I got it. I'm not excusing you. You picked him.
I got a restraining order and left.
Very
for
good.
my
You're going to
kids.
get your stuff all ready.
I got that restraining order right here saying that why did she stay in my house before then? She still came in.
Mr. Munson, you came to court asking for the court's help in getting you your property back. She says she has some tools that belong to you, and she's more than willing to give you those tools back. She also believes she has your leather jacket, which she is going to give you back. You also want a little toy car.
There's a bunch of them.
And she was honest with me the first 2 things. She said, I think I have his tools, and I have his leather jacket. About the cars, you redecorated, while you were together, the 10-year-old's room, and you put those cars in his room. That makes it a gift. You don't get those back.
That's because it's a 2-bedroom apartment. Where else are we going to put it in our 2-bedroom apartment?
You don't want me to answer that question, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Is he your only child?
No.
Are the other ones normal?
Yes.
The other one is normal.
Both of them.
He's not normal.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Justin Munson claims the mother of his daughter, Tasha Schnipkowite, won't return his tools or his NASCAR collectibles. Tasha is countersuing, claiming Justin physically abused her and their infant daughter.
Now I want you to give me the date of this assault that you are complaining about.
It was Memorial Weekend, May of 2006.
That wasn't this assault, was it?
No, that was October when my daughter was removed, October of 05. All I have is my hospital records of the
Can I
Memorial.
see it, please?
Absolutely, Your Honor. In that incident, he had swelled my eyes shut.
Do you have any photographs?
I didn't get photographs.
Okay. I would like you to tell me what happened on Memorial Day.
Okay. I picked him up from work, and we had went out for a couple drinks, and he has a very, very jealous tendency. I'm always.
Why were you drinking? You got a problem.
He states that I have a problem drinking, Your Honor. I don't drink any more than anybody else my age. Okay.
You may or may not, but I wouldn't drink at all.
That's true. That is true.
So you went out for a couple of drinks, and
prior to that, we had separated, and I just moved back in with him. And when we were separated, I had started dating somebody else. And he always wanted me to tell him in detail everything about the man. Well, when he drank, that's when his anger really flares. And so we had gotten home, and he started asking me questions about the other gentleman. And I wasn't willing to talk about it, so he held me down on the couch. And he just over and over in my head and in my face. And I had to wait till he passed out, and I ran down the street to my mother's house. And my mother then called the DHS because we had a visit with our daughter that weekend. And they didn't think that our daughter should come the next day with me looking the way I did. And
okay.
Okay.
You want to tell me your version, Mr. Munson, of what happened on Memorial Day?
She got hit by a softball, Judge. I got it written right here, statement from her saying she did.
You mean from the emergency room?
Nope, from the emergency room said that, and from what she told the DHS.
I had
Oh,
said I would never get my
no
daughter
question
back.
That's what she told them, that she got hit with a softball
Yeah.
or maybe a bus. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you what happened on Memorial Day, sir. I expect an answer. Look, don't look there.
I was.
And don't look there. Listen to me. There is no question you assaulted her on Memorial Day. There is no question in my mind that you assaulted her on Memorial Day. Maybe you have an excuse. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe you were drinking. Maybe she was drinking. But don't tell me she got hit with a baseball. Do you understand? That's what she told them so that they weren't going to remove the little girl again or keep you both from her because of the domestic violence. So let's hear it.
I was out with my friend in Illinois that day.
Why didn't you bring your witness?
Because I was told that I didn't need him.
Well, you do. There you go with that stupid affect again, Mr. Munson. You want to tell me what happened on Memorial Day?
I came home at 11 and she came home next day. I don't remember what day it was, but it was the next day at 5 in the morning and her eye was swollen shut and we took her to the hospital about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Your Honor, we went to his mother's that weekend and she's the only one that knew the truth.
Just a sec. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to get the truth out of his mother. She's going to continue to cover for him like she's been covering for him his whole life.
Yes.
But I know that he assaulted you. No question. And it would be outrageous for you to say a word. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Can I please have the medical report, please? One of these days, he's going to really hurt somebody, madam. He's going to really hurt somebody because he's a nasty drunk. He's a nasty, vicious drunk. Tasha stated that she received the bruising on her face, arms, because they're concerned about returning this child to a household where there is domestic violence. She received the bruising on her face, arms, and inner thigh at the end of May from a baseball. You got it. Is he your only child?
No.
Are the other ones normal?
Yes. He's married and has a child.
The other one is normal.
All of them. Both of them.
He's not normal. He's not normal.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When you bring a child up in an abusive household, like you did, that's what they become. They become an abuser.
And later today,
The defendant says that you did finance some reconstructive cosmetic surgery.
She wanted to start a new life, and no cosmetic surgeon is going to take payment, so I paid for it up front.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Justin Munson claims the mother of his daughter, Tasha Schnipkowite, won't return his tools or his NASCAR collectibles. Tasha is countersuing, claiming Justin physically abused her and their infant daughter.
Okay. Were you married to their father?
Yes.
Did he beat you?
Abusive. Yes.
Did he beat you?
Yes.
That's what happens. Abusers see their mothers abused. That's what they think happens. That's the way they think people live. You're allowed to do it. It's accepted. Don't you read things? Don't you watch television? Don't you see documentaries? Don't you read newspapers? When you bring a child up in an abusive household, like you did, that's what they become. They become an abuser, like your son. And don't make excuses for him. You may have made excuses for your husband, but don't make excuses for your son. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $5,000. Thank you very much. That's it.
Excuse, sir, stay here. Stay here for a minute.
It took a lot for me to move on, and now I'm doing, I don't want to stay with an abusive man.
Hitting over head with a pan. I got hit with anything she could grab.
I don't want to raise my kids to grow up to be what he is.
I was wrong in what I've done, yes, but I mean, I took my part in doing my classes to make myself better.
He promised he'd change, and again, it just kept happening over and over and over.
I got a good woman now that she has no problem with me.
When you start seeing those red flags, get out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Strive. Step forward, please.
Belinda Smith is suing her cousin, Laura Strive, for a loan to have cosmetic surgery. Laura claims she never agreed to pay back the entire amount.
Miss Smith, this is your cousin, and your complaint alleges a loan to her for some reconstructive cosmetic surgery. The defendant says that you did, in fact, finance this surgery for her. You did so as a gift because you cared about her. At this point, you're angry that she decided to go back to her husband.
That is not.
That's your defense.
Yes.
Were you good friends as well as relatives?
Years ago we were, but I hadn't seen her for 17 years prior
to
the
what?
surgery.
Prior to the surgery? Well, then tell me how it came about if you hadn't seen her.
She had left her husband and came to stay with me, and then when my house became available, she moved into my house and rented out my house. Once she did that, I ended up leaving.
Did she rent out your house alone?
Initially, yes, she was living there alone, and I moved back in my house with her, and we shared the house together as roommates.
The two of you?
Yes.
For how long?
I want to say April to when she left in January.
Okay, tell me how it came about.
When she came to live with me, she was always down and out. She was without a sternum bone, without a breastbone, and very insecure with herself. She was going through a divorce. She signed divorce papers. She left her husband. She wanted to start a new life.
Tell me how it came about. Don't tell me why you did it. I didn't ask you why. Tell me how it came about.
I really couldn't. It was just a conversation we had, and we went on a couple of consultations. You know, I'm even paying the finance charges. She knew.
Just tell me how it came about, Miss Smith.
I don't know if it was just something that I offered to do for her, but she also knew right away that she had to pay me back.
Don't tell me what she knew. What you have to tell me is how this loan came about, and if you don't remember, you don't remember.
It was just a conversation we had. I told her that I would pay it up front because no cosmetic surgeon is going to take payments, so I paid for it up front. Then starting in January, she was supposed to pay me $100 a month until it was paid.
And how much did you pay the doctor?
$5,100.
You have proof of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see proof of that and proof where it came from your bank account.
I have my bank statements and proof of that.
Okay. I have $49.50.
I believe I paid $100 in cash on the day of the surgery as well.
Well,
but I don't
$49.50 is what you can prove. Okay, then what happens? She had the surgery?
She had the surgery done. Everything went well. I took care of her as well after the surgery. She went back to her husband, and the day that she left, she gave me $100 in cash, and about 3 to 4 weeks afterwards, she paid me a $300 check out of her and her husband's checking account, and I haven't received anything since. And then I hired a lawyer. And
what was the money for that you sent her?
I was going to pay her back some of the money. It was never...
But that's what the money was for, that you sent to her?
Yes, yes.
How much of the $5,000 were you going to pay her back?
I had offered to pay her half. It was a gift. It was intended.
Don't tell me what it was. That's
okay.
For me to determine.
Okay, okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why didn't you put the check in the mail?
Because at the time we were on good terms. All I wanted to do was
Why didn't you just put it in the mail slot in her house?
Are you in a family dispute? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. When did you tell her you were going to pay her half?
It was after the surgery was already done. We were at Busch Gardens talking, and I said, well, you know, it was a lot of money. I said, I'd like to be able to go ahead and pay you half of it. And I decided afterwards that I was going back to my husband. She didn't want to hear of it. She says, well, I just want all my money.
Well, why didn't you pay her back half?
Your Honor, I did try to. I went to her house 3 times to pay her some money. She was not there 2 times. The 3rd time I went there, I offered her a $1,000 check. She refused to take the check.
You mean a $1,000 check in total satisfaction?
No. As in payment for the rest of the year, and then in January, I would continue payments at $100 a month until half of it was paid. Because I did offer to pay her half.
Well, I don't understand why you didn't just send her a check for half. Why you went to her house? Why didn't you just send it?
I went 3 times just so that I can give it to her personally.
So why didn't you put the check in the mail?
Because at the time we were on good terms. All I wanted to do was
Why didn't you just put it in the mail slot in her house? You were there already.
I was there, but I didn't want to leave money
you take it, you put it in the mail slot. Finished. I don't believe a word you say. You're full of baloney. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $45.50. Thank you very much. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. This is case number 215 on the calendar in the matter of Warner versus Reno. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Warner, you really don't know anything about this case. You are merely the owner of the car that was damaged. Is that right?
Correct.
And it's your granddaughter who was driving the car or the truck?
Correct.
So why don't you have a seat, and I'd like to see Jade Warner, please. Step up. Miss Warner, according to what I've read, you and the defendant were friends for a while, and then you had sort of a falling out over a boy. It was your boyfriend or her boyfriend, and then it became your boyfriend. Whatever. It's nonsense. In any event, this thing culminated, according to you, when the defendant keyed your car. And you say that happened on the 19th of August.
Yes.
Where did it happen?
It happened at Holly Kellogg's house.
And what makes you think that the defendant, who denies that she did this, was involved in keying your car?
At 9:55 p.m. on August 19th, Holly called me because she needed a ride home from her work. I went up there to go pick her up, and as I was walking out with Holly, Jessica was standing by my car.
Okay, so you know Holly?
Yes.
Well, according to your answer, I read your answer. You said she was a friend of yours.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
Okay, I was leaving Coach's, and...
Coach's is what?
Holly's work. And Jessica was in a truck, a white truck, with her other friend, and they followed me from Holly's work to Holly's house, which is about 5 miles. As we went into Holly's house, I parked my car. We went in there. I was getting a couple of things out of Holly's room. Holly was closing her blinds. As she was looking in her blinds, she saw Jessica circle...
Don't tell me what she saw. Where is Holly?
Holly is right there.
Step up, please. No, you can stay.
Okay.
Right next to her. All right, so the plaintiff picked you up from work?
Correct.
Drove you home?
Correct.
You all went inside. According to the plaintiff, you observed something when you were closing the blinds when you got
Correct.
into your house. What did you observe?
As I was closing the blinds, I looked out my window and noticed there was a white truck and pulled up like closely to my driveway, and we have a security light outside that comes on and like a motion detector. And I looked out to see a like white truck with designs on the side. I noticed that it was the truck that Miss Reno had been riding in as they had followed me to my house from work.
How do you know that they had followed you home? Did you see the truck?
Yes. As I got into the car, I noticed that someone was following us closely, and I was looking behind to figure out who it was, and I noticed it was them, and I proceeded to ask Jade if they had had a problem or something, because I didn't understand why.
When you said you saw it was them, did you turn around to look in a rearview mirror?
I turned around and looked, and she had switched lanes, and so I saw that. I saw that it was completely those Jessica and her friend in the white truck.
Okay. Now, when you got to your house, did you see the truck? Before you looked out the window?
Correct.
Did you see the truck as you pulled into...
No.
Pulled up to your truck?
As I had made a right-hand turn to turn onto one of the streets that leads me to my house, they had gone straight. As I watched them, like, speed off, I saw Jessica with her hand out the window, flipping us off, yelling something, and I didn't understand at that point what was going on, because as far as I knew, her and I had been friends.
Okay. Now you're inside the house, closing your blinds. Now you're going to tell me exactly what you saw.
Okay. As I look out my blinds, I see that there's the same white truck, which there was a driver in the car, which was Jessica's friend. Jessica was walking around Jade's car, and her hand was down here. And I was trying to figure out what was going on, and as I looked and glanced a little bit longer, I could see that she was keying her car. And I didn't want to walk outside, so I stayed inside and yelled for my mom, and my mom came out, and then I saw the truck speed off.
Then you went outside after this?
Correct.
What did you observe when you went outside?
There was key marks on my car.
You have photographs?
Yeah.
May I see them, please?
On the photographs, you can see the metal that has been, but it's clearly the 4 panels on each side of the car.
Certainly is. Okay, Ms. Reno, let's hear you.
Okay, I brought my friend Jessica.
Don't tell me you brought your friend. You look at me.
Okay, about 9:20, my friend had picked me up from my house. We went over to my friend Jason's house, and he wasn't there. His roommate had told us that he was going to Coach's to have dinner with his family and then going to Sharky's to play pool. So we went over to Coach's, and there we had seen Jade, and we saw her car after we came out. And I had wondered how she got in because she's not even 18. So I had asked someone that was in her car if she was coming to hang out or whatever, and how she got in because she's not 18. And she said that they were here to pick up Holly. And I was like, oh, okay, I want to see Holly because me and Holly are friends. So she came after she had said that. She came outside, and Holly said hi, and we gave each other a hug, and then we proceeded on about our night. They got in their car, they left. We got in the truck, we left. We followed them to about Avenue L. They turned right, and we turned left. We proceeded to go to Sharky's, which is a pool hall, to look for my friend, and he wasn't there, and so we just proceeded to go to Jessica's house, which we were there by 10 o'clock.
Now, who were you with that night?
Jessica.
Jessica, what's her last name?
Pavovarov.
Is that you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Step up. Do you know Holly?
No, Your Honor, I don't. I met her just briefly at a party they had at their house.
Do you know Jade?
I met Jade before. She spent the night at our house when she was 14 years old.
How long ago was that?
Almost two and a half, Your Honor.
Were you driving a white truck that night?
Yes, I was.
Does the white truck have any markings on it?
It has a big dent in the side, and it has pinstriping on it.
Mm-hmm. You yourself have never had a falling out with Miss Warner,
No,
is that right?
no.
But you know that Miss Reno has had some problems with her.
Well, from what I knew, they were friends, and I don't know what happened between them. They just stopped hanging out.
Okay. Now, you heard Holly tell me that at some point when the cars separated, after she was picked up from work, that Miss Reno gestured out her car window to their car and said something. Did you hear that?
No, Your Honor, what's funny is from where they live and where we live and all the way to Sharkey's, it's totally the distance. We're going the opposite way. And we have a map right here that shows that it's the opposite way. And my mom was at home when we got there, and we got there, but it was before even 10. So if this happened at, what, 9:55, when this supposedly happened, then there's no possible way because we were at home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The cops went to the house, and Jade had said that Jessica had keyed Jade's car. And then we got another call, and Jessica's car had been egged with 82 eggs.
That's more information than I asked for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Jade Warner says former high school friend, 18-year-old Jessica Reno, keyed her grandfather's car.
Okay. What time that evening did you get picked up at work?
About 10:15. I hadn't clocked out till 10:12 that evening.
And how long does it take you to get home?
Takes me about 10 minutes.
So you were at home by 10:30?
Correct.
And it's your statement that you were in your house at 10:30?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to hear from your mother.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Your last name?
Pivovarov.
Do you recall the evening of August 19th?
Yes, I do.
How do you recall that evening?
Because Jessie had come home from San Diego to visit her friend, and I had gone to bed early because I was very tired, and I have a little dog that sleeps with me, and just before 10, it started barking and woke me up, and I had seen my clock on the end table, and it's a digital, but I only could see the first number, and it was 9 something. Because the first digit of the clock I could see, and I had my Bible and my book studies on my stand, and it was covering the last couple numbers. And I tried to quiet my dog down, and she wouldn't relax, so I finally got up, and the girls were in the kitchen talking and snacking. So I sat up until probably about 12 o'clock that night with them talking. So they were in, I would say, at least a couple minutes before 10.
Were you contacted by the police that night?
I wasn't, but I was there when Jessica Reno's mom, Pat, called the house and said the police had been at her house. I was sitting at the table with the girls when they called. And the police had asked, I believe, my address and stuff, but they never did come over.
Approximately what time did you receive that phone call?
12:30.
No.
I don't know. I don't even know what time it was. Probably 11:30, 12. I don't know.
And you stayed downstairs with them the entire evening?
Yeah, until I went to bed, and it was after 12, and I finally went to bed, and then they were still up talking.
Were you there when the phone call came in from Jessica's mother?
Yes, I was.
Did you speak to Jessica's mother?
I don't think I did.
Well, let me ask you this question. Clearly, when her mother called, she said something about the police wanting to speak to Jessica?
Well, my daughter answered the phone.
When the phone rang and it was Jessica's mom on the phone, what did she say to you?
She said, I need to speak with Jessica. And I said, okay. And then Jessica started talking to her mom, and she's like, what? What are you talking about? You know?
So there came a time, I assume, when Jessica got off the phone with her mom. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And did she tell you what had happened?
Yes.
What did she say during the course of the conversation with you about the conversation she had with her mother?
She said that the cops went to the house, and they said that Jade had called the cops and said that Jessica had keyed Jade's car. And then we got another call later saying Jessica's car had been egged with 82 eggs, and it's a coincidence that Jade's car got keyed and Jade thought it was Jessica, so all of a sudden Jessica's car got egged with 82 eggs and the house.
Just a second. I'm not finished.
Yes, ma'am.
That's more information than I asked for. Now, you got off the phone with Jessica's mom. The police were looking for her. Is that right? That's what your mother told you?
Yes.
And you knew that your daughter and Jessica had been out together that night?
That's right, Your Honor.
And then you went to bed?
Right.
You didn't call back Jessica's mother?
No.
You weren't concerned that if they were looking for Jessica about something that happened that night, perhaps your daughter was involved?
Because,
No, I'm just asking you. You weren't concerned that if the police
Yes,
were looking
I was,
for your
but
daughter...
I knew.
Let me finish. You weren't concerned that if the police were looking for Jessica because of an incident that happened that night, because I assume they got off the phone and told you what the police were looking for her for,
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
And I assume that you knew that the two girls were together.
That's right.
So it would seem logical to me as a parent that you would want to get this information about where these two girls were accused of being that night, at least from her mother, not from what she's reporting to you. But you went to bed.
Yes, because Mrs. Reno had talked to the police.
How do you know that?
Because she said the police had been at her house.
Right.
Had been at her
That's
house.
what I'm saying. But
Oh,
Jessica
sorry.
reported that to you,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Jessica's reporting all of this to you about the conversation.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So Jessica's reporting about the conversation to you. And you as a parent of a young girl, knowing that they're out together that night, don't pick up the phone to call the other mother? You
No.
went to sleep?
No, because she told Jessica the cops had been there. The incident happened after 10, and I knew the girls were at my house, so I knew they couldn't have done it.
Well, then I would have picked up the phone and made a phone call to either the police or to her mother and said, that's impossible. How could they be looking for Jessica and Jessica when they were both here sitting in my kitchen having cookies and milk?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If somebody said to you, your daughter has just been accused of being involved in a crime, you wouldn't go to sleep and say, I hope somebody figures this out. I hope we have Sherlock Holmes on the case.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jade Warner says former friend Jessica Reno owes for keying her grandfather's car.
Okay. Now, one of my children were accused of being involved in a vandalism. And I knew that my children were sitting at the kitchen table with me. I would have called back Jessica's mother and said to her, give me the name of the police officer who just called you, because I have to call them immediately and tell them that the girls were sitting with me for the last hour and a half. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Have a seat. Let me see estimates for the damage to the car. We understanding each other?
Yes, we do very well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Right.
Your Honor.
Who wants to say something? Sure.
I'm Jessica's mom.
Mm-hmm.
The girls were at my house, left at 9:40. We have brought a map, or 9:20, I'm sorry, of the three places they went.
I don't believe that they went to the three places, madam. Your daughter does not deny the fact that she was at Coach's. The only discrepancy is where they went after Coach's. The only defense that they have is that they went directly to Jessica Two's house, where they were sitting in the kitchen having milk and cookies at the time of this incident. I don't need a map. I need the truth. And she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Because if you are a concerned parent, now just figure out what I just said to her. If somebody called your house and said to you, your daughter has just been accused of vandalizing property or being involved in a crime, and you knew she was sitting at your kitchen table during that time, all night, would you not contact the police and tell them that immediately? Would you not do that?
I would do that.
Of course. You wouldn't go to sleep and say, I hope somebody figures this out. I hope we have Sherlock Holmes on the case. You would pick up the phone and you would call immediately. This lady, who's a very nice lady, has a daughter who's driving a car, a truck, who at least could be considered, if this were true, an accomplice.
But her daughter was not accused of this crime. It was just
I'm telling you, if you are driving the car in which somebody is using as a vehicle to get away from performing a crime, They call that, in movie land, the getaway car. Then you pick up the phone and you say, the girls couldn't have been involved with that because they were with me. Right? Of course.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'll tell you one of the things that I found most interesting, Miss Reno. There is a witness. There is an eyewitness. And the eyewitness is somebody who, according to you, was a friend of yours. Because I'm going to read from your answer. Holly is a girl who I've been friends with for years. Holly said hi and gave me a hug. This was at Coach's that night. So you have to say to yourself, why in the world would somebody make up a story about having seen a friend commit a crime unless it were true? When somebody is a crime victim, they don't want just somebody to be punished. They want the right person to be punished. They don't want the wrong person to be punished. That doesn't make them feel good. So I can understand it. If you two girls had had a falling out and you accused her, anyway, maybe you were making it up. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe you thought it might be her. But when Holly says she saw you, and then your mother doesn't give me a very maternal answer as to what she did after she found out that the police were looking for the girls by going to sleep, I find that I am convinced by the required quantum of proof in this civil proceeding, which is proof by clear and convincing evidence, that you, in fact, are responsible. And the damage is $1,648.22. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
We haven't gone.
Cases number 223 and 225 on the calendar in the matter of Ducey versus Reed and Kirk versus Reed. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
According to you, Miss Ducey, you and the defendant were living together.
Correct.
And you were living together in a rental property.
Right.
You are suing the defendant because you say he assaulted you, and that when you ultimately separated and he moved out, he took many of your belongings.
Everything.
Okay. On what day did he assault you?
July 2nd of this year.
And tell me about the incident that precipitated this assault.
Basically, we got into an argument over our car that we were sharing. We were sharing the payments 50-50 down the line.
What kind of an argument did you get in over the car?
I had a problem with me never having the car. I had to ask to borrow it. I still never had a car to work. He dropped me off every day. I never had a car. So that was what we were arguing about.
And where was this argument? Inside the house?
Yes.
Go ahead.
At point, I was going to leave with the car, and when I left, he locked me out the house and wouldn't let me in. I kept trying to turn the key. He was back there turning it back. So I broke a window to get in.
Okay, let me stop you there, Miss Ducey. You said you were going to leave with the car.
Right.
So why didn't you just leave?
I had forgotten my purse was in the house.
So you had to come back inside to get your purse.
Right. And when I hit the door was locked, bolted, and chained.
So you broke a window to get into the house?
Well, I did. Yes, I did. After trying to unlock it with my key.
You broke a window to get into the house?
The house that I was renting.
Well, you'd had an argument. Did you cut yourself?
Yes.
Badly?
A little. Right there.
And where did you go when you got into the house?
I went to the bathroom to wash off.
And what happened in the bathroom?
Still, as soon as I got in the house, we were arguing back and forth. I went to the bathroom to wash my hands. When I got in there, we were still arguing. At some point, he pushed me. I fell.
Just a minute, we're going to get to you.
I went up against the wall and I fell to the ground. And when I was down, he kicked me in my stomach.
That's the assault you're talking about?
That's the assault, one of the incidences, yes.
Well, what is the second assault?
The day after I came home and all of my things were gone, I called some friends over in fear that they would come back. So I had friends over. We all spent the night on the floor. And the next morning, we were awoken by him coming through the back door and trying to gather a few clothing articles that he did leave there. In doing that, I told him that I had nothing to wear. He took everything. So I wanted the pair of jeans he had so I could go to work. I had nothing. And he pushed me down. I have a witness.
Well, just a minute. When you say you wanted the pair of jeans, what did you do? Pick up his jeans? You were fighting over the jeans? That's what you were doing. You were holding your hand up. So
yeah,
you had his jeans. He picked up his jeans.
Right.
And you grabbed hold of his jeans.
As he was coming down the hallway, things were falling.
You He picked up his jeans. You took the other end of the jeans because you wanted to wear his jeans.
Yeah.
So you're fighting over these jeans.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
He pushed me and hit me in front of my friend and her 3-year-old daughter.
Where did he hit you?
In the leg. I had a bruise in the leg, but other than that, he just pushed me. There was no bruise from that.
Okay, and during these entire incidents, both on the 2nd and the 3rd of July,
No.
you never...
That was on July 12th. The 11th, he took my things. The 12th, he came back.
Well, what happened between July 2nd and July 12th? Were you living together?
Yes.
So you had made up?
No. Basically, through our relationship, we've broken up and gotten back together, broken up, got back
So
together.
between 7/2 and 7/12, you were both living in the house together?
Not talking, not speaking. We were still arguing. We weren't talking, but we were both living there.
After July 2nd, did you seek any medical treatment?
No.
After July 12th, did you seek any medical treatment?
No.
You indicated in your papers that you have a mother.
Yes.
And that at some point during one of these incidents, your mother did come to get you, or you went to your mother's house.
Right.
Why didn't you go to your mother's house after he assaulted you on the 2nd of July?
I did.
Why didn't you stay there?
All my things were, I mean, that was my house.
Well, that was your house, but he was there.
Right. When we had talked about he still wanted to live there and still pay half the rent, and not be together. This is what was coming out of his mouth.
Well, I understand that, but if you're afraid of somebody, you don't go back into the house and live with them, even if you're not speaking. Why would you do that? That's a foolish thing to do, especially when you have an option.
To tell the truth, I mean, as stupid as it sounds, I really didn't think that this was going to be a breakup.
What do you mean you didn't think it was going to be a
Like
breakup?
I said, throughout our relationship, we've broken up many times, all the time. I mean, many times break up, a day later, be fine.
So you were assuming, Miss Ducey, that this was going to be something that blew over.
That would get talked about, yeah.
And it didn't?
No. The next conversation about it, he was confirming that this was a breakup. And
so he told you that he was finished?
Right.
When did he tell you he was finished?
July 10th.
Now, those are the 2 assaults that you're talking about. Let's
Right.
deal with the assault part first. All right, Mr. Reed, let's go back to the 2nd of July.
Yes. It was a Sunday. Me and my cousin were planning on going fishing, which she knew. And every time I get ready to go out, she goes to the club all the time. Every time I get ready to go out, there's a big old argument. I have to go through this whole thing. She's too possessive and everything. So on July 2nd, I get ready to go fishing. I'm walking
How
down.
long were you going fishing for, sir?
From about 5 o'clock to about 1 or 2 in the morning.
Okay, but not overnight.
No.
So you're just
right
going
in-
out for the day,
Yeah,
but
just right
taking the
inside
car.
Yeah. It's my
Okay,
car,
so that
right.
was what you mean, that you were having an argument over the car.
Right.
Never
The
had
argument wasn't over the car, really. The argument was he was going fishing and taking the car.
No. See, what
It
he
wasn't
doesn't
even
say...
argument. Go ahead.
What he doesn't say is that every time I went out, I borrowed my boss's car.
It's not what I'm saying
I
to
never
you.
got
Miss
the car.
Ducey, listen to me. It's not what I'm saying to you. I'm saying to you, on that day,
Mm-hmm.
July 2nd, he said to you, I'm taking the car and going fishing.
The fishing wasn't the problem. The whole problem was me never having the car, because even the day before, I was stuck at home all the time with no transportation.
Miss Ducey, he said to you, I'm going fishing, I'm taking the car. Then there was an argument. You're not taking the car, I never have the car.
We did get in a little argument or whatever, and she was talking about, well, you always leave or whatever. I'm like, you go everywhere you want to go. I never get to go nowhere. The first time I get ready to go, there's an argument. So I go get in the car, whatever. She runs out the door. She stands behind the car like this so that I can't leave. And she stands behind the car. So I get out the car. She never was going to leave, to tell you the truth. She was never going to leave. She was sitting in the house watching TV.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You withdrew all the money from your joint account.
Right. I have everything marked that I've ever spent.
I don't plan on going through
Okay.
that, madam. That's what happens when you live together without benefit of marriage.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Katie Ducey says ex-boyfriend Charles Reed won't return property that's hers. Charles says Katie stole money from his bank account.
So what happened?
After she came outside and still behind the car, and she wouldn't let me leave, I get out the car. I go back in the house. I do lock the door. Since you want to be outside or whatever, I go in the house. I lock the door. I lock her out. You want to stay out there and argue? Go ahead. My neighbors are not coming out to look at me like no. So I go in the house, lock the door and everything. She comes up to the door. I'm like, well, you wanted to be outside the car, so you're staying out there. You wanted the car, whatever, you're staying out there. She got the key to the what's name? She can go through any one of the doors in the house, big old sliding door, whatever. She didn't want to come in. So I had the top piece on, whatever. She's all mad, so she gets in through the what's name. The chain piece is still on. And she's going, yeah, around in the door. I'm over at the back window waiting for her to come in because I already know she's going to come in and start throwing something or something. So she kicks the door and boom! Comes over to the, comes over to the, we have like a little center thing. She takes a couple candle things off of there. She throws them at me. She throws the set of keys to the car at me. She throws the candle holder at me. That's the reason I broke up with her on July 2nd. She's lying about the 10th. I broke up with her on July 2nd.
Okay. Tell me about the pushing and shoving.
What pushing and shoving?
You're suing her because you say she assaulted you.
That's when she threw the keys and the candle stuff things at me when she came in the house on July 2nd.
Were you injured?
No, they hit me, but they didn't hurt me.
Okay. What happened? Did she leave or did you leave?
Matter of fact, I walked to my mom's house.
All right, so now you're at your mother's house.
Mm-hmm.
But there came a time when you came home.
Yep.
When did you come home?
July 2nd.
Did you share a bedroom that night?
No, we didn't.
Where did you sleep?
I slept in my bed, and she slept on her couch.
In the living room?
Yes.
On the couch? And you stayed in the house together until the 10th of July? Did you continue with that arrangement?
No, we didn't. July 4th, she was in there, well, I don't want to say what she was in there asking for, but she was in the room with me.
In the bedroom?
In the bedroom.
Okay, and did she have a discussion with you about making up?
No. She already knew it was over or whatever, but she was still trying to work on the relationship.
Well, that's what she said. She was hoping that it would work out.
Yeah.
Right. All right, now there came a point where you told her it's over and you decided to get your stuff out of the house, Mr. Reed, is that right?
Yeah.
She says that you have some of her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any of her things?
Yes, I do.
What things do you have that belong to
I
her?
have a black leather couch, which I held because she withdrew on July 10th. She called my credit card in, I mean, not my credit card, my ATM card in, stolen or lost. I went to go buy a pack of cigarettes in my ATM. I couldn't even get nothing.
So you're holding these things. Your counterclaim, sir, says that she withdrew money from your credit.
Off the credit card. What happened is she overdrew the account. We had a joint account. She overdrew it.
What date?
On 7/11, there's an,
Let me see.
There's right here, the efficient fund here, and another one right there.
Did you take any money out of this Bank America card?
Yes, I did.
On 7/11?
Yep.
How much?
I think it was $800.
What'd you take it out for?
Dollars. Since I've had a joint account with him, I've always kept track of how much money he had in the bank and how much money I had in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at my register, you can tell that. And
I don't plan on looking at your
okay,
register.
well, at the 7/10, the day before this Monday, his balance was $96. Before he could get a chance to go and take out money, I wanted to make sure he didn't take out more than, he always thinks he has more money in there. So I went and took out money. I went and took all the money out, and I paid him $95. I owe him $1.53 to be exact.
When'd you pay me?
Just a second. You withdrew all the money from your joint account.
Right.
So that's why you kept the couch, sir.
Exactly why I took it.
Okay. Now, were you working, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing? What kind of work
I work in the city industry making powder paint.
And how much do you earn?
Before taxes, it's like $1,000 or something.
Every week? Every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks.
And what kind of work do you do?
Home health care.
And how much do you earn?
$250 a week. $285 a week.
So he earns more than you do?
Yes.
And you were doing direct deposits into this account?
He was.
So his whole check went into the account?
Right.
So you got to the account first? Right.
Before
Okay.
the automatic deposit went in.
Well, he had been making automatic deposits since how long were you living together?
A year and a half there.
Okay, so during the time you were living together, his whole check was going into the account.
And yeah, so was my money.
Yeah, but he earned twice as much as you did.
All the things that we spent, I have everything marked that I've ever spent.
I don't plan on going through that, madam. That's what happens when you live together without benefit of marriage. He makes more money than you do. You opened up a joint account.
Mm-hmm.
He put in his entire check. You put in your entire check. And when you broke up, you got to the bank first. That's what happened. All right? And he took your couch.
As soon as I left her, she went straight to the bank.
Just a second. And he took your couch. and your other stuff. Because he says that's not fair. You got to the bank first. At
So
least.
how much does he say that I owe him?
I have no idea.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, all this stuff adds up.
Miss Ducey, pay careful attention to me. I'm not going through your 4 pages.
For half of the bank account, he cleared out my whole entire life.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Katie Ducey says ex-boyfriend Charles Reed won't return property that's hers. Charles says Katie stole money from his bank account.
I'm going to tell you something. Courts don't waste their time going through a checkbook, check by check, for people who decide to live together.
True.
Rather than getting married, then you know. Whatever is left in the bank is joint property. Joint property gets split down the middle. Half is yours, half is his. We're finished. You have a couch. You take the value of the couch. You want the couch, you pay for the couch.
Right, I understand.
Fine. Good. What other property do you have that belongs to her?
Well, all I have is her couch and maybe like the living room, the end table, like things. That's about it. That's all. Only thing in the house that was hers.
Okay, what about her clothes?
I gave her her clothes and her TV. She came and didn't bring me anything but like my uniform that I go to work for and stuff.
He doesn't have just my couches.
My
He
truck
has
was full.
4 pages worth of my stuff. I had nothing. I have witnesses that when we came home, the whole house was trashed. We had to clean it all up. I have nothing. I'm talking underwear, tampons, shampoo,
Just a second.
conditioner,
He said he
everything.
returned your clothes to you. Are you telling me he did not?
No, he gave me half of my clothes.
So he gave you half of your clothes?
Half of my clothes.
What do you think he did with the other half of your clothes?
He told me he has everything else of mine in storage.
Do you have anything of apparel, clothes, clothing, shoes?
One shoe. One blue Nike that I didn't give her back that was into my box.
That now I have nothing. I have nothing. Absolutely. A refrigerator he took. He left everything out on the floor, on the...
What everything did he leave out on the floor?
The food, all the food. He took my refrigerator that I had before I met him. All the food was out.
Just a second. You have just a second. Don't miss up anything, Mr. Reed. Do you have her refrigerator?
Yes, I do. I just
My
remember,
washer
yeah.
and dryer I just bought.
Just a second. Washer and dryer.
No, we have. We spent, as a matter of fact, the washer we got from a friend of mine for $50.
No, we didn't.
Oh yes, we did. And what happened is, I got to check her, and then she went and bought a new one, which it came right out of both our Western name. So that's half my washer and
Just
dryer.
a second. So what you're saying is you bought a washer and dryer out of your joint account? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Shh. Hey, look at me.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's the washer and dryer?
In my storage.
So that you have it.
Yes.
Well, if you have it, and that money came out of the joint account, sir, pay careful attention, half of the value of that is hers. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I've already bought new couches. I've already bought a new washer and dryer. I had to spend all my money to replace things. I didn't have a refrigerator. My food was spoiling. I had to buy a refrigerator. I didn't have any toilet paper, washer, soap. I didn't have a pair of shoes.
Listen to me. Courts don't waste their time on soap and dishwashing
I'm just trying
detergent.
to let you know
listen
how
to
bad
me.
he was.
Listen to me.
I mean, all this stuff adds
Miss
up.
Ducey, pay careful attention to me. I'm not going through your 4 pages. Then you expect to waste the time of a court in figuring out your mess? You cleaned out the bank account, he cleaned out the house.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
There is no court for people who are testing the waters, but he is going to return the sofa, the end tables, the refrigerator,
anyway.
the washing machine, and you're going to give her $50 towards the dryer if you want to keep it. Do you understand? $408 belongs to Mr. Reed. That's half of what you emptied out of the joint account.
I gave him his balance that he had in a checkbook.
And what about the money that was overdrawn in their account?
Just a minute. Deal with it. Deal with it. Your counterclaim, sir, I am awarding you $408. As far as the assault is concerned, I find that there was a fight. I find there was a fight where both of you behaved badly. I don't believe that he kicked you in the stomach because I was watching your face when you said kick me in the stomach, and the look on your face when you told that part of the story, I believe, was a fabrication. I do believe, however, he pushed you. He may have pushed you, he may have shoved you, whatever it was. After the second, you decided to stay home and work it out with him. It wasn't until after he left that you got furious and went and emptied the bank account. So that's the way I've resolved your case. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
How are you, Bird?
Good, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Carter, according to your complaint, you and the defendant decided to start to live together. You were living in one city, she was living in another city. You joined her where she was living, and you needed a car. According to you, you went shopping for a car. You gave her $1,000 towards the deposit for the car. So far, correct?
Yes, correct.
You lived together for a while. It didn't work out. She kept the car. You want your money back.
Yes.
You have a counterclaim. Counterclaim is on the day that you decided to ultimately break up, Mr. Carter became very violent, and there was an incident in the car that involved not only an assault, but certain destruction of your property, correct?
Correct.
When did you decide to purchase this car together?
In February.
And you had not yet moved down to where the defendant was living?
That's correct.
Correct. And you went shopping for the car, and what kind of car did you decide to buy?
It was a 97 Toyota Camry.
Did you go together?
We went together to pick out the car. When we did the agreement and all the dealer papers, this was done. Okay.
Everything is in your name?
Correct.
You say from the day the car came off the lot, he drove it?
Correct.
How long did you drive the car, sir?
1 month.
Till March?
Yep.
Is that when you broke up?
Yes.
When was the first car payment due?
It was end of March. I'm not sure on the exact date.
We purchased the car on 2/23. The first car payment was due on 3/23, which I paid in full myself.
When did you have this argument?
The argument happened on 3/23.
On the day the car payment was due?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, how much did you put it down as a down payment?
I put $1,000 down.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, Miss Overby, this romance lasted 4 weeks after you purchased the car, correct?
Correct.
Oh. Now, let's say that he used the car for an entire month.
Correct.
And the car payment was
$37.38.
And you acknowledge that you used the car for the whole month?
Yes, correct.
Well, do you think it's fair, Miss Overby, that he should be out his $1,000?
Considering the trauma that I've gone through, the vandalism to my car...
We'll get to your counterclaim in a minute.
Okay.
Let's forget counterclaim for a second. Let's talk about his case. You think it's fair?
I do, considering he used the car for the whole month.
But what if, Miss Overby, we did what would be a common sense thing and say to Mr. Carter, look, you used the car for a month, and the car payment for that month was $337. So I'm going to deduct the $337 for your use of the car, right? You couldn't rent a car for less.
Yes.
And I'll give you the balance. Are you following me?
Correct, yes.
Would that be fair?
Yes.
Now, when you broke up that evening, according to what I've read, you came home and found him loading his stuff into this new car.
Correct.
And it was your intention to take the car.
Just to take my stuff back to a location in Boston.
And what did you intend then to do with the car?
I talked to her before. I said if she wanted to keep the car, all she had to do was just return my deposit, or if not, she could go down and transfer the lease into my name. You know, that way it would free her up. But she chose just to want to take the car and go.
You think it's fair, don't you, that you pay for something, some part of that car?
Yes.
Okay. Bird, I'm going to try to work this machine now, you know.
Okay.
This may take a little time. This is not my strong suit, this calculator machine. Ah, 663. Did it. Okay. So, according to what I see, sir, that's $663 that you owe her. Now, you have another small amount of money that you say you spent on this car, and that was to register it.
Registration, which she didn't put anything in.
Okay, and how much did it cost you to register the car?
Like $220.
Show me.
That one, she has it because it was in her name. So all the registration is in her name.
Did he register the car?
He registered the car.
Did he pay for the registration?
He offered the money to me. He gave this money to me as a gift. He said in order for us to do anything together as a couple, he wanted us to be a strong couple.
Why don't you just give me an answer?
Yes,
did he pay the $220?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And I'm going to give you credit, sir, for the $220 you spent to register the car, because there are some interesting lessons here. One of them is, you don't buy things jointly unless you're married, because courts get irritated if they have to resolve these things between people who are foolish enough to try a living arrangement and then buy cars together and houses together and credit cards together, and then we're asked to take this mishmash and make it right There are more important things we have to do in courts. You understand that? Next time you decide to live with somebody, keep it separate.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He put a knife to the back of my neck and said, if you're going to kill me, I said, let me give my son a last kiss goodbye. I was begging for mercy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ronald Carter says his former live-in girlfriend, Catherine Overby, owes him for a down payment on a car. Catherine is accusing Ronald of kidnapping her at knife point.
Now, let's hear what kind of a bad person you were on the night you broke up, because Miss Overby says that her counterclaim is a serious one. Is that right, Miss Overby?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was at work. Mr. Pickett had bounced a check to me on behalf of my son due to his non-payment of child support. This is my son's father.
What are you doing sitting over there, sir? I mean, what are you doing here in court?
The initial broke-up instigated between those two, which trapped me in the middle.
Sit down. Sit down. Okay. He's your child's father. He bounced a check. What happened with him? March 23rd.
I got home from work that evening at 10 o'clock. Ronald was coming down the stairs with bags of stuff and putting it in the car. I said, Ronald, I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm taking the car. And I said, you can't just take the car. That's considered auto theft. And he said, I don't care. He said, until I get my $1,000 back, I'm stealing the car. I told him, I said, listen, I said, he's acting completely irrational. I totally believe to this day, Your Honor, that this man has an anger problem. And he needs to deal with it because it's very dangerous. I went to the ATM.
Just a second.
What is she talking?
Just a second. So he said he wanted his $1,000 and he was taking the car until he got his $1,000. And you believed he was irrational, but you got into the car with him anyway.
Yes, because he was threatening to steal the car.
All right. A car is a car. Your life is your life. You're supposed to be smart, but you got into the car. And you got into the passenger seat of the car.
I got into the driver's seat of the car at that point.
Well, you didn't end up in the driver's seat.
Correct.
Because he got into the driver's seat, according to your complaint.
Correct.
How did that happen?
I was driving down a highway in New Hampshire called 93.
You were driving?
I was driving at this point. He put a knife to the back of my neck and had control of the wheel and insisted to me to pull off at exits. This man had a knife to my neck. He made me pull the car over. He told me to get out of the car and move to the passenger side, which I didn't. I switched seats within the car. And then he drove.
Where did he drive to?
He drove to his mother's house in Roxbury, Massachusetts.
Okay. Were you talking while you were doing this drive? Were you talking about your problems?
Right.
Were you talking about your problems, Miss Overby?
Yes, we were talking about our problems.
Were you talking about the relationship and how it didn't work out? Were you talking about your son? Were you talking about your son's father?
I was talking about how I wanted to go home to my son. I said, if you're going to kill me, I said, let me give my son a last kiss goodbye, because without me, he has no one.
But were you talking about anything else other than that, Miss Overby?
I told him that I said, you're completely acting irrational. I said, I want to leave. I said, I don't ever want to see you again. I said, stay away from me. Don't come near me. I was begging for mercy.
Okay. So then you get to his mother's house, right?
Correct.
And he takes his stuff out of the car?
Yes.
And according to you, he took the keys to the car, too?
Yes, he never came back with my keys, Your Honor.
So what did you do?
I waited outside for about 10 minutes to see if he might come back. Then I decided I would knock on his mother's door. His mother came out probably about 15 minutes later. She said Ronald wasn't there, but kindly let me into her house so I could call AAA that night.
Why did you take the car keys, Mr. Carter?
Because she tossed some of my CDs, so I tossed her car keys.
What do you mean she tossed some of your CDs?
The CDs that I had in the car, I was taking with me. She was like throwing the stuff out of the car, so I threw her keys down.
Did you take any of his CDs and throw them out of the car?
I gave him all of his stuff back.
That's not my question. My question was...
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Yes, you did. You see, put your head down. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I gave him all his stuff, but I threw him out of terror.
You threw them?
Right.
So you threw his CDs on the ground?
Correct.
And then he took the car keys and...
I tossed them.
Where'd you toss them?
Like, it's like, I guess like in a yard right by where we parked in front of the house. but she didn't see where the keys got tossed.
Did you have a knife in the car?
No.
Tell me about the car ride, Mr. Carter.
I was driving to my mother's, and she kept trying to, she wanted to work things out, and I kept saying no, and then she like went in some driving 90 miles per hour, smoking a cigarette, drinking a soda. She's doing everything at one time, so I felt that she was like incapable of driving, so I asked her to pull over, and that's when I completed the ride home to my mother's house.
When did you go to the police, Miss Overby?
I went to the police that night.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Did you tell the police that he slashed the car tires?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because when I came out to catch the locksmith, the tires to my car were slashed. I also have a AAA report, too.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Carter, did you slash her tires?
No, I did not.
Who slashed her tires, sir? It's much too coincidental.
That's a story that she made up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When she went out to wait for AAA, she found the tires slashed in her car. Who do you think did that?
You just say she didn't slash the tires.
Because you would have to be an idiot to do that.
Well, you don't know Catherine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ronald Carter claims ex-girlfriend Catherine Overby owes him $1,000. Catherine says Ronald assaulted her with a knife.
Oh, Mr. Carter, let me tell you something, sir.
Yes.
I believe that there's a little truth in what both of you are saying about what happened that night. I do believe, Miss Overby, that there was more of a discussion in the hour that you were traveling to his mother's house than just how terrified you were. I do believe, however, Mr. Carter, that you slashed her tires, or you knew who did. Do you want to know why, sir? It's too coincidental, and because the AAA report indicates clearly that the tires were slashed once they got there. The initial report to AAA was that she needed somebody to respond because she had no keys. That telephone call was made from your mother's house,
Yes,
right?
correct.
And you were not there.
No.
But you were somewhere.
Yes.
And then when she went out to wait for AAA, she found the tires slashed in her car. Who do you think did that?
I have no idea. But the case that she brought, all charges were dismissed.
Of course they were dismissed, Mr. Carter, because without any proof,
That is
beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the quantum of proof in a criminal case, they can't proceed. The quantum of proof here in a civil matter is less than beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just more evidence than not, and you rely on your common sense. Do you understand? It just doesn't seem logical to me, sir, that somebody else, during that brief 15 minutes while she was in your mother's house waiting for the AAA to respond, didn't like the car and went over and slashed 2 tires on the car. Where did you go, Mr. Carter, when you went home?
I went to my friend's house,
Did you go out the back door?
out the back door.
Did you have to put new tires on the car?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
We have a receipt for the tires.
Okay. Just for my own information, what was this initial argument about on the 23rd?
On the 23rd?
Yeah.
The initial argument was about me calling my baby's father's job. He
Yes.
thought that it wasn't rational for me to call and ask for the money back from a bounce check he had written out to me on behalf of my son.
Just a second. Is that what the argument was about, Mr.
No.
Carter?
The whole thing started because of her lying, which it started way before that date. But the constant lying that Kathy's always used to doing, I got fed up with the relationship and I decided to end it.
All right, so you decided to end it.
Yes.
Okay. What do you want to say, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stand up. Stand up.
Ms. Overby states that she called my job. She did not call my job. It was constant harassment.
Good. Sit down. Okay. Mr. Carter, I have to make a judgment based upon both common sense and the information that I have. I find, however, that your actions on the night of the 23rd of March of this year were totally irrational. You decided to end the relationship,
Yes.
and irrespective of how angry you were because she threw your CDs on the floor, you knew that by tossing the keys in a place in the dark where she would never find them, that she'd have difficulty, right?
I told her where the keys. Oh, I said the keys were outside.
You said the keys were outside.
All she had to
Outside
do
is a
was
big
look
place,
around.
Mr. Carter. So you knew she'd have difficulty, and you knew she was going to be stranded. So instead of even waiting at your mother's house, you took off through the back door and went to a friend's house, right?
Yes.
And then lo and behold, after she makes the call to AAA that she has no car keys, she comes out and finds 2 tires slashed. That's according not to her. That's according to AAA. Flattened and slashed.
Who's to say she didn't slash the tires?
Because you would have to be an idiot to do that.
Well, there you
No, you'd have to be an idiot to do that. She may allege a lot of things. She may say that you kidnapped her,
Yeah,
which is
so-
baloney because he didn't kidnap you. You got in the car, right? I mean, but part of your counterclaim is you say he kidnapped you. I don't believe that for a minute.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Okay. I find that she had certain out-of-pocket expenses, sir. And her out-of-pocket expenses were $130 for tires, and then you spent a whole night. Who was watching your son during that night?
A babysitter.
Mm-hmm. And this babysitter is someone that you pay by the hour?
Correct.
How much do you pay the babysitter by the hour?
$5 an hour.
Pretty cheap babysitter. What time did you get home the next day?
5 o'clock in the morning.
And what about the evening, being stuck out in a place she's totally unfamiliar with until 5 o'clock in the morning until she finally got herself home? How much do you think that's worth?
I have no idea why she was stuck. I knew nothing about the tires.
You knew about the car keys.
I talked to her that night. I was trying to tell her where the keys was when
Why
I
didn't you
called
go
her.
get the car keys for her instead of telling her where to look for them? Why didn't you say, sorry, I threw them, I'm coming right back, I'll find the keys for you?
She wouldn't give me time. She kept yelling over the phone.
What do you mean she wouldn't give you time?
She wouldn't give me a chance to say anything
Why
over
don't
the
you get on the
telephone.
phone with your mother and say, listen, she's a little irrational because she doesn't have the keys and I don't want her to be upset. This is where I threw the keys. Why don't you talk to your mother?
Because she had the phone. She wouldn't give anyone else the phone.
Oh, Mr. Carter, you got an answer for a lot of stuff, sir.
You don't know Catherine.
Well, let me ask you this question. Did you call the house or did she call your friend's house?
I called the house.
What'd you call the house for?
I see if she had left.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I could see if it was safe to come back home.
So when you called your mother's house, who answered the phone?
My brother did.
So why didn't you tell your brother to go outside, tell him exactly where you threw the keys so that he could give her back the car keys? Why didn't you do that?
Yeah, I should have.
Should have. Right. You should have was going to cost you $883, so I'm dismissing your claim. Do you understand that, Mr. Carter? On the other hand, you owed him some money, right?
Right.
And I've just found that his aggravation that evening cost $883, so your counterclaim likewise is dismissed. Goodbye, folks.
Parties are excused. Judge, parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Whew. Family that certainly does not get along well. Miss Moore, the defendant is your niece.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she had you falsely arrested for assaulting her last year during the time that your mother was ill and dying.
Yes, ma'am.
You went through a trial recently and were acquitted.
Yes,
Found
ma'am.
not guilty. And you're suing her for the false arrest and for the year that you spent facing these charges. The defendant says that the charges were true and that she is counterclaiming for her injuries. Her injuries, I believe, were broken arm.
Yes, ma'am.
When was your mother ill last year?
My mother became ill early in January, but she really got bad in March of, it was 2003.
And when did this incident occur with your niece?
March the 10th, after I flew to Texas to be beside my mother who was dying at her home.
So you tell me your version of what happened, what led up to this incident.
Saturday afternoon, my sister, Brenda, had instructed me to give medication to my mother every 4 hours without stopping. And it put my mother in a very...
What kind of medicine was it?
One was a morphine and the other one was for anxiety.
Your mother had cancer?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of cancer did she have?
Cancer of the liver.
So the morphine was prescribed to keep her calm.
Yes, ma'am. But on the prescription of the bottle, it says every 4 hours as needed. And my question was, that night she was totally out of it, and my brother he was there that night, and he had to pick my mother up out of the bed because she could not move at all. And we did not give her the medication every 4 hours like my sister had instructed, and I had asked my other sister in the morning about the medication.
So that caused a problem with your niece?
They were all upset because I would not give the medication like that. But anyway, Sunday night, I left and went out to another sister's house to rest. And when I came, that morning on Monday, my daughter and I came back in the afternoon, and I come to the conclusion I couldn't handle seeing my mother's death.
Okay.
Because of my heart condition and my nerves.
Okay, you couldn't handle it. Okay.
And I was talking to my husband on the phone, and I told him he could reach me. I was on the porch, and I told him he could reach me out at my other sister's. Brenda got mad at me, and I don't want to have a consultation with my mother dying.
Why was she angry with you? What was she saying?
She just felt that I was there trying to take over, and she was already had said that she was going to come out there and whip on me on Monday, and I didn't pay any attention to that in a phone call that we had.
Was that over the medication?
Yes.
Is that so far, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, step up. Brenda, what were you angry about?
I wasn't angry with her. I was actually relieved that she was there to help us because we had 3 months prior of taking care of my mother. Everybody was stressed out. It was a bad time. My sister had called me and she told me that the hospice people had told her not to give my mother the medication except when she needed it. I told her specifically, Alice, when you're there, you do what you need to do. I told her I was calling a meeting with the hospice people on Monday. The whole family would be there. We could all understand. I learned more about death than I ever wanted to know with my mother. And I didn't want to go through this by myself. I wanted my sisters there. I wanted help.
Right.
So when we asked for a meeting, she said 10 o'clock. My sister couldn't be there. She was so concerned about my mother and the medication, but she couldn't be there to see what the hospice people. We were doing exactly what they said. Exactly what they said.
Which is medicating her every 4 hours and not letting the pain grab hold of
Right.
Well, and
right.
they told
That's
us,
exactly how they explained it to her,
Right.
to us. You know, when the pain kicks in, this is how she's going to be. Don't let the
Don't
pain
let it
come.
get there.
You know,
Right.
we had been there with her. We didn't want to let the pain come. Nobody, you know, she was going to die. We knew that. We wanted it to be peaceful.
I got it.
and that was my mother's wish, to die at home.
Kim, tell me what happened in the kitchen on the 10th of March.
Well, I was in the bedroom with my grandmother, and I heard them in the kitchen. And she's telling her, you know, you took her out of the nursing home. You shouldn't have took her out of the nursing home. She's going to die. She's going to bleed. You know, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And they were telling her, then leave. You know, that's fine. If you can't take it,
Put your hand down, Miss
leave.
Moore.
You know. And when I looked outside, she was slapping at my mother. And another one of my aunts stepped in. Well, she grabbed her and she threw her down to the floor.
Threw her
Alice
down.
threw my other aunt down.
What's
to
her
the
name?
floor. Her name was Billy.
Go ahead.
And then of course, I had walked in there in the middle of this, and my brother walked in, and she started screaming at my brother. And she was screaming obscenities that you would not believe. And she was, you know, then she started out the door, and my brother went out after her. Well, I went out after him. Then she coming out there, and she's telling me, you know, we need to just call an ambulance for Billy. You know, we need to just go. So I'm going back in the house, and I get the phone to call the police. And as I walk back outside, because I'm hearing screaming now back at the porch. And I'm like, well, I thought she was going to leave. She wasn't leaving. And it's because her daughter over there was telling her, you don't have to leave. They can't make you leave. This is your mama's house. You don't have to leave. You know, her daughter was put in the quarter. And she knows if you push her, she's going to lose it. You know, she has a history of violence and just psychotic behavior. And I look at her and I told her, just go. Just get that out of here. You know, that's why I told her, just get that. And I'm pointing at her. And as I'm pointing at her, she grabs this arm. And she pulls me down. Her daughter steps between us, and she popped my arm down over her daughter's shoulder. It broke this bone up here into pieces. They had to go in and put a rod. You know, I have a permanent rod in the middle of my bone.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was leaving and they attacked me. They didn't take my statement. The police didn't let me give a statement. My lawyer will testify to that. Why don't you call her?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alice Moore says her niece, Kimberly Kayla, had her falsely arrested for an assault. Kimberly says during an argument, Alice broke her arm.
What happened to Billy?
Billy was taken to the hospital also, and she had some sciatic nerve damage in her back.
She was taken to the hospital that day?
Yes. But Billy and I were both taken to the same hospital in the same ambulance.
What hospital?
To Spahn Memorial Hospital.
Do you have a police report for me, please?
Yes.
It's right there.
Okay, Miss Moore, coming back to you. Now we're going to come to the point in this story where you're going to tell me your version of how her arm got broken.
Well, first of all, there was a consultation in the house, and Brenda held me and Kim, and I have a sworn testimony from the court where my attorney said, "And you slapped her?" And she said, "Yes." At that time, she hit me.
Just a second. Who slapped you?
Kim hit me in the face with the telephone while my sister held me in the kitchen and would not let me leave.
Let me see the testimony. Oh, well, she says, "Do you remember slapping Alice?" She said, "Yeah, I told you in the kitchen when she was pulling my hair and we were going back and forth." "And you slapped her?" "Yes."
But, Judge, I could not be pulling her hair.
Just a minute. Don't explain. You have to read me the whole thing, Miss Moore.
Okay.
She didn't just admit slapping you. She said you were pulling her hair and you were going back and forth and she slapped you.
At the time she slapped me, I had my hands restrained by my sister Brenda.
I would like you to tell me how her arm got broken.
Well, from there, I went outside and was leaving. At that time, her brother stopped me from going to the car. He pounced over the porch and pulled his hand back to hit me. And you're looking at a guy, I wouldn't take my eyes off because he lives weight and he could have killed me. And he said all kinds of things to me as I was trying to leave. My daughter stood in between us to stop it.
Okay, so your daughter got in between you and her brother.
Right.
Okay.
And as I was looking for my granddaughter, Kim.
Just a second. If your daughter got in between the two of you, why didn't you go back to your car?
I was going, but my granddaughter had the keys to my car.
Where were you looking for her?
Right there in front of my mother's house.
Well, you just have to look. How old is your granddaughter? Is she a little teeny girl?
Yes.
How old is she?
I thought she was about 11 or 12. That's what she looks like.
How old?
She just turned 18, Judge.
So she was 16 at the time.
15. She hadn't turned 16 yet.
15 at the time. Well, you're not looking for her on the ground, madam. Listen to me. If you're looking for your granddaughter who's outside, and the people who are outside, according to you, your nephew, and your daughter, that's 3 people. That's who you told me were outside, and you were looking for your granddaughter around that area. That
And Kim came off the porch, charged off the porch with something and hit me in the face, and I could not see. I put my hands up, and I have pictures of where she hit me in the head, and I couldn't see at that time.
Just a second. Hold on a second. Show me the pictures that you have. I don't see anything wrong with your head now.
I had a goose egg right here.
Not according to the police report.
The police did not come and check me out at all or anything. I went to the hospital, to the emergency room.
Let me see the medical records from the hospital. According to the police report, when they spoke to you, there was nothing wrong with you, except you were complaining of chest pains. That's according to 2 police officers. Listen to me. That's what the police said you complained of. Not a goose egg on your head, not being hit on your head. They took you to the hospital for observation because, listen to me, because of the chest pains. What I want you to do is give me the hospital record.
I don't have that part.
Well,
I could not get that part in time for court today.
Well, that's unfortunate because you've had over a year to get that hospital record. Who are you?
I'm her husband, Your Honor.
Were you there?
I talked to her at 7 o'clock.
He was on the phone when I went in to tell him I was
she was told me she
leaving.
was leaving.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
My daughter Frankie was there.
Oh, I believe Frankie was there. You can step up, Frankie. I believe you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
How did your cousin's arm get broken?
By her brother yanking her arms. When she had my mother's head, she grabbed my mother by her left, with her left hand, with Kim's left hand, by her hair, yanked her head over where she's completely bent over. My mother's face is touching the cement. Kim's brother runs from behind Kim and grabs Kim with his arms like this, and he's pulling her, and she's hitting my mother upside the head with a cordless phone in her right hand, and I grab at the phone, and Scott is pulling Kim at both of her arms backwards. No one touched her arms except for her own brother.
Okay, fine. You can sit down. It's very unfortunate when everybody gets stressed out in a situation where...
What was
I'm speaking. It's very unfortunate when people get stressed and angry because somebody who's close to them is dying. And put the picture down, madam. Pay attention to me. The first mistake that you made was not listening. Your mother was dying of liver cancer. The instructions that you were given to give her morphine every 4 hours were the appropriate instructions. I am not a medical person, but unfortunately I have been in situations where I know that you're not supposed to wait until you are in pain, as needed, when you are dying. You're supposed to keep medicated so that the pain of liver cancer doesn't take hold. So these people were taking care of your mother for months before you got there. And then you pay attention, try to get it through. And then you come to the scene and decide, this isn't right. The medication says as needed. I'm not going to give her the medication every 4 hours. And everybody is annoyed at that situation because you're sort of a Johnny-come-lately. They've been there for months taking care of the situation, making decisions without you. They took care of, they were the ones who were up at night, they were the ones who were feeding, and all of a sudden you show up and decide to change the rules. Big mistake. You weren't saving your mother's life, Miss Moore. She was going to die. I'm speaking. She was going to die anyway. The question was she going to die peacefully and not in pain ever? Or whether you were going to try, your method of treatment was let her get a little bit uncomfortable and then we'll give her the medication as needed. Unfortunately, you made a mistake in your choice. I do not believe your daughter when your daughter says that you were beaten over the head with a phone, because there is nothing in any of the official records, including hospital records, which you had every opportunity to get over the last year and a half, that suggests that when you were admitted to the hospital for your chest pains, they noted bruising and swelling on your head that would be consistent with your being hit over the head repeatedly, according to you, and according to your daughter, with a cell phone. So I do not believe you were falsely charged. And I believe you broke her arm.
Oh, ma'am,
I believe
not.
that you... I'm speaking.
I did not. I was leaving and they attacked me.
Okay.
That's
You
all
may
I
have
was
convinced-
doing was leaving.
You may have convinced
they
you,
would
Miss
let
Moore.
me leave.
You may have...
I didn't care about what medicine they gave Mother. They attacked me. And they didn't take my statement. The police didn't let me give a statement. My lawyer will testify to that. Why don't you call her?
Listen to me. I don't want to go any further with this,
And
Miss
I
Moore,
was
because
found
I'm
not
speaking.
guilty of all
I'm
of
speaking.
those.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Speak.
I swear I did not.
Listen to me very
Where's
carefully.
the Bible? I took a lie detector's test even, and I did not touch them.
Your
None of them.
case is dismissed. Did you have any unreimbursed medical bills?
Yes, ma'am.
What were they? Unreimbursed medical
Well,
bills.
I have $7,000 right here.
Judge 7 on the calendar in the matter of Wills versus Cooper. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Cooper, what do you do for a living, sir?
I'm the head of domestic sales for a multi-million-dollar company.
And how long have you had that job?
Since about November of 2009.
How much do you earn?
$35,000 a year.
Get commissions?
Yes.
Bonuses?
Not yet.
Have you gotten a commission?
Not yet.
So your base salary is $35,000.
Right.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents.
What do they do for a living?
My mother works for the county, and my father owns a construction company.
When were you and Miss Wills planning to get married?
We hadn't set a date. It was something that we had talked about loosely. We were trying to get all of our ducks in a pond first. At the time, I was unemployed. I wanted to make sure we moved out first, lived together. So we didn't have a date set.
And when you were together, where were you living?
I lived with my parents.
So even when you were dating and discussing marriage, you were living with your parents?
Correct.
And where was Miss Wills living?
With her parents.
Now, you accumulated a whole bunch of tickets.
Correct.
Where?
In Riverside County.
Why?
They were mostly tinted window tickets that I had forgotten about.
What does that mean, tinted window tickets?
My windows on my truck were illegally tinted.
Why were they illegally tinted?
It's the way I bought it.
How many tickets did you get for that?
I think the total was maybe 4.
What else did you get tickets for?
That's all I can remember. It's been so long.
How long ago was it?
It's been well over a year since we paid off the tickets.
Now, you use the word we loosely, I assume, because you didn't pay for the tickets.
Right.
Tell me how that came about, Mr. Cooper.
When we were planning on getting married, I was planning on becoming a police officer. Something like this was holding me back, and we were planning on going to Vegas. I got pulled over, and he said I didn't have a license, which I was unaware of, and we were still going to Vegas.
So you had no license?
Right.
You were pulled over, and you were driving?
Right.
Without a license?
Right.
What do you mean you weren't aware of the fact you didn't have a license?
I never received a letter from the DMV in the mail.
Of course you did. If you've been living with your parents your whole life, you got it in the mail, you ignored
I
it.
just
like
moved back home.
You ignored your tinted windows. You moved back home from where?
Temecula.
Who were you living in Temecula with?
Friends of mine.
Is that where you got the tickets for tinted windows?
That's where I assumed my mail was forwarded, and I had never received it since then.
How long were you living with friends in Temecula?
Well over a year.
And what's the current address on your driver's license?
Riverside.
And were you living in Riverside when you got your driver's license?
Yes.
How old are you?
25.
And how long is a driver's license valid for?
I don't know.
4 years, 5 years, 10 years, as long as a driver's license is valid in the state of California.
I do not know.
Do you have your driver's license with you?
I don't have it on me, no.
So what you're trying to tell me, Mr. Cooper, is you went to motor vehicles and changed your address when you were living in Temecula?
I changed my address to Temecula. When I came back home, I never changed it back.
They send your mail where your driver's license indicates that you live. My question to you, Mr. Cooper, is, are you trying to tell me that a man who accumulates tickets for the same offense, time after time, doesn't know how long his driver's license is good for, but was a good enough citizen to go to Temecula and advise the county in Temecula that you had temporarily relocated with friends to change your address on your driver's license? I just want you to tell me that that's what you want me to believe.
That's not what I'm telling you.
Fine. Then your mail went to Riverside, not to Temecula. And when it went to Riverside, your parents, somebody responsible who works for the county, and your father who has his own business would have said, hey, idiot, your driver's license is suspended. You get where I'm going?
I understand.
Perfect. Now, let's move on with the tickets. So you were planning to be a police officer, just what we need. And this was holding you back because you were on your way to Vegas and you got pulled over and you had no driver's license. Did they impound your truck?
No, I wasn't on my way to Vegas when I got pulled over.
Oh, I thought you were on your way to Vegas.
It was something that we had planned to do.
Oh, so you weren't on your way there.
No.
You got pulled over in Riverside.
Correct.
And they said your license has been suspended because you didn't pay all these tickets.
Correct.
Who was in the truck with you?
Nobody.
So what happened to your truck?
I turned around and went home.
They let you drive home with no license?
I was a quarter mile from my house.
They let you drive home with no license. And what did you do when you got home?
Tried to figure out why I didn't have a license.
And did you figure it out?
I did.
What did you figure?
The culmination of all the tickets that I had.
So you must have called somebody to find out. Did you ask your mom to help you?
No.
How did you find out?
Went to the DMV. The DMV told me.
You went yourself?
Right.
How did you get there?
I had a friend drive me.
And when you got to the DMV, you found out that you had accumulated these tickets with fines. To what amount?
Roughly $2,600-ish.
$600-ish. Got it. So then what did you do?
Had to find out what the tickets were for. Had to find out how to pay them off.
How did you pay them off?
I didn't pay them off.
Well, they were paid off.
Correct.
How did that happen?
Larissa paid them off.
Tell me how that happened.
Before we went to Vegas, she said that she didn't want to drive, and I was going to set up a payment plan, but it would take too long to pay off all the tickets. So the end result would be...
Which means you wouldn't have a license.
Correct. Which means I couldn't drive to Vegas.
Go ahead.
Okay. Then Larissa didn't want to drive to Vegas. We were going with a group of friends. So she offered to pay them off for me.
What did she say?
She said...
No, don't look there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember the best I can, too. She said something along the lines that she had a credit card or she had money, because I don't have a credit card, and that she offered to pay them off for me.
Not offered. She said something to you.
She said she will pay them off for me.
Okay. Now, how were you supposed to pay her back?
I wasn't supposed to pay her back.
That's a lie,
Well,
Your Honor.
You were going to make a payment plan with the people in Temecula.
Riverside.
Or Riverside.
Correct.
Oh, these tickets were from Riverside. Fabulous. Good. You were going to make a payment plan with the people in Riverside, and they are strangers to you.
Correct.
Why wouldn't you at least make a payment plan with your girlfriend and say, listen, if you pay them off for me, I'll at least give you what I was going to pay to the county?
Correct.
Why didn't you... Stop saying correct. Why wouldn't you say that to her?
I didn't need to. She offered it as a gift.
That's a lie.
Why wouldn't you say that to her?
Because I didn't.
Why?
Because it was a gift.
He did say that to me, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I assumed it to be a gift. It was brought to me as a gift. I wouldn't offer to pay my grandma for a sweater for Christmas.
Don't be a wise guy with me. Why didn't you ask your mother who works for the county or your father who has his own business?
They said no.
Because you're a bum.
And later today,
I want you to start to think. You didn't think you were coming to the beach today, and you knew what she was suing you for. So let's start to think and not act like a goofball, okay, sir?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larissa Wills says ex-boyfriend Denby Cooper owes for a large loan to pay off traffic tickets.
Now, what I'm asking you is, why wouldn't you say that to her? Sweetheart, they're my tickets. I got them. I was wrong. I don't want you to take out money from a credit card. As it happens, she says she borrowed it from her mother's credit card and then paid her mother back. But I don't want you to be out the money. It's my fault. It's my responsibility. If you pay it off up front so that I can have a license, you know, I'll pay you and your mother back slowly. Why wouldn't a person like you do that?
Because I didn't, Your Honor. Because I assumed it to be a gift. It was brought to me as a gift. I wouldn't offer to pay my grandma for a sweater for Christmas.
Why didn't, listen, don't be a wise guy with me. Why didn't you ask your mother who works for the county or your father who has his own business?
Because they wouldn't pay it for me.
Why?
They said no.
Because you're a bum.
I'm not a bum.
Sure you were. You weren't working.
Right.
You were 24 years old. You're a bum. And you had no business going to Vegas. How were you going to Vegas if you were 24 years old, had no job? What were you going to do in Vegas? Stand on a corner?
No.
What were you going to do in Vegas?
Go out with friends. We had a group of people who were going with us.
And how were you going to go out? What were you going to use as barter?
I had money.
From what?
I was working part-time.
Part-time where?
At a cell phone repair company.
On the books or off the books?
Off the books.
Were you getting unemployment insurance?
Yes.
Ah! Always follow the money. That's why I love this job. How long were you working off the books while you were collecting unemployment?
Not very long.
I want the president to listen to this. Go ahead.
Not
How
very
long? Not very long. How long is not very long?
Less than a month, 3 weeks. It wasn't a daily job. I fixed cell phones from home.
You had enough to go to Vegas along with the government's help.
Correct. We split the tab.
You're a big boy. You eat a burger and a half. And you were going out with friends. That's not cheap in Vegas. So the couple of 3 days a week that maybe you worked for a cell phone company while collecting unemployment and saying you were looking for work, you must have earned really good money fixing cell phones.
No.
How much did you pay off for his tickets?
It was $26.78.
How much did he pay you back?
$200.
Lovely. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,470. You get a ticket. It's your responsibility to pay it. Bye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm very happy with it.
I was a little disappointed.
I guess he just didn't want to pay me back for the tickets, and I couldn't get a hold of him.
It was a gift.
He told me to never call him again.
I didn't want to talk to her anymore.
He was mad at me because we broke up.
After she broke up with me to be with somebody else, I had no desire to want to be with her anymore or talk to her.
We just weren't good for each other.
Don't trust women?
Never loan people any money without a written agreement.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McClellan versus Lotz. Step forward, please.
Sammy McClellan is suing her ex-boyfriend, David Lotz, for loans for child support, rent, and an airline ticket.
Miss McClellan, you met the defendant, according to the complaint that I read on the internet. You began to date him and made a series of loans to him. You no longer are involved in any sort of relationship. You want your money back. Mr. Lotz says that there was never any agreement to pay you back any of the money that you gave to him. And the one issue with regard to an airline ticket, you were unable to use it and you gave it to him as a gift. Mr. Lotz, when did you and the plaintiff begin a relationship?
I don't know if I would call it a relationship per se. I talked to her online, and I think I saw her maybe a total of 4 times.
And how long did it last?
Until the time that I thought it was just non-conducive to have any contact with her whatsoever.
Why was that?
Just erratic behavior by emails, text messages, and I have 2 small sons, and I just didn't think that any type of relationship would be an appropriate environment for her to be around them.
Okay. At what point did you decide that? Did you decide that before or after you took money from her?
Well, it would be after.
While you were taking money from her, everything was fine?
We really didn't have a relationship per se except friendship. As I said, I saw her 3 times, 4 times.
Was it clear to you, sir, that she had more of an interest in you than you had in her?
No, not necessarily.
How much money did you give her over the course of the brief time that you spent with her?
None.
How many gifts did you purchase for her?
None.
How much money did you take from her?
It was roughly $2,000.
And what did you take the money for?
I had some past bills, and well, the $2,000 that would include the plane ticket that was a gift.
Forget the plane ticket. I'm not interested in a plane ticket. She had a plane ticket that she couldn't use, and it was going to go to waste, and she gave it to you. Who cares? I'm interested in cash. How much cash money did you take from Miss McClellan?
About $1,700.
Let me hear the first amount of money that you took from her. When was it, and what was it for?
I'm not sure the exact date, but I had some.
I don't need an exact date. Give me a month and year.
Roughly 4 months ago, last year.
Well, 4 months ago would not be last year, sir. Your math is off. When was the first time he took money from you?
It was on, actually, March 2nd.
And what was it for, Mr. Lotz?
I had some past due things that I had to pay.
Like what?
Various things. I don't know right now. I mean, we had a
I
discussion.
want you to start to think. You didn't think you were coming to the beach today. And you knew what she was suing you for. So let's start to think and not act like a goofball. Okay, sir? What was the money for? You saw her, according to you, 3 or 4 times. In at least 2 of those 3 or 4 times, she gave you money. What was the first one for?
I believe the first one is I had some utilities stuff and some insurance.
How would she know that you had issues with your utilities and your insurance?
We had extensive conversations via the internet and Facebook. That was basically the bulk of the relationship.
You mean that you needed money?
I was going through a very hard divorce, and I confided in her as a friend, and so she knew the situation of everything that was going on.
Don't tell me what she knew. If you're courting a woman on the internet, which is what you were doing.
I don't know. I think that's a
well, unless
misrepresentation
you're some sort of a pervert, I would assume that if you were on the internet involving someone in the intimacy of your life, you were doing either some sort of courting or some sort of conning, or you're a pervert. You have 3 choices. Those are the only 3 choices I can come up with. Courting, conning, or a pervert.
I don't see it that way.
I don't care what you see. So somehow she knew you needed money for your utilities and insurance. This had nothing to do with child support, did it?
No, I was paid for. I took care of that. It was paid.
When was it paid, sir?
I pay the first week of every month.
I told her about a hearing that was coming up March 2010 and the child support payments I needed to make right away. That's what you wrote. That's not what she wrote. That's what you wrote. That's not a utility. Your children are not utilities. They may be utilities to you, but child support is not a utility. or insurance? How much did you give for child support?
It was $600.
That's a better answer. Now, these are the two sons that you didn't want to be around somebody that was as kooky as the plaintiff, right? These are the two small sons that you're very attached to, or do you have other sons?
Just them.
Just them. She didn't make them, did she? She didn't make them.
No, ma'am.
Whose responsibility is it to support them?
Mine.
Right. And what do you do for a living?
I'm a chef.
So you eat regularly. And the court sent an order of support that you were supposed to pay. Why didn't you pay it?
I was having some financial difficulties.
So you were either courting her, conning her, or you're a pervert. Right now we fit into the conning part. $600. It's not her responsibility to support your children. What other money did you take from her, Mr. Lotz?
My rent.
Rent. Who did you live with?
Myself.
So let's see. You're not paying child support, and you didn't have any money for rent. So what category are you? You're either courting her, conning her, or you're a pervert. How much money did she send you in rent?
$11.50.
How much did you send back to her?
You know, it was a gift in my estimation.
How much did you send back to her? The answer is
Nothing.
none. Now, in what month did she give you the $11.50 for rent?
It was March.
So in March, she gave you money for child support and rent.
To be honest, I don't remember.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at what point did you believe that she was a threat to your two children? What month was that?
It would have been in June.
Did you see her in April?
No, it was. No, I'm sorry. It was May. I'm sorry, Your Honor. It was May.
Everybody fits into one of those categories on the internet. Now you know where you fit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount.
Dudley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Why don't the
Young
mothers
men
have a seat
seats.
for a moment, and let's have the two boys up here, please.
Sean, right here.
Right up here. Your name, young man, is Deshaun?
Yeah. Yes.
Much better. And you are Jason?
Yes.
And you boys had some problems, is that right? First you were friends for a while, but then you had some problems?
Yes.
Then there came a day in the schoolyard after school. Do you remember that day, Jason?
Yes.
A whole bunch of kids were standing around?
Yes.
And Deshaun, you were outside also.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was teasing him.
How were you teasing him?
I was saying that he liked the girl.
What were you saying exactly? Do you remember?
I said you liked her, that's it.
Hmm?
I said you liked her, that's it.
And what did he say?
I don't know that.
Did you say anything to him when he started to tease you?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said no.
Did you like her?
No.
No. So you told him you didn't like her.
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said over and over again
What did he say over and over again?
that I liked her.
So you were really teasing him. Why were you teasing him, Deshaun?
I didn't say it over and over again.
Why were you teasing him at all?
I was just playing with him.
Is that the only reason you were teasing him?
Yeah.
No. What happened?
After I said it a couple times, then I turned my head, and he came and slapped me, and my head hit a steel pole.
How did he slap you?
He went like this, and my face just hit a steel pole, because I was right by the pole.
So he didn't punch you or anything. He slapped you with his open hand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And your head hit a pole, and what happened after your head hit the pole?
I had a slight concussion,
How do you know that?
because I felt dizzy after he slapped me.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember slapping him on the face?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Oh, no.
Because you were angry?
Yes. Yes.
You didn't punch him or anything.
Mm-mm.
You just
Yes.
slapped him on the face. Did you see his head hit the pole?
Yes.
Did you get frightened?
No.
Did you go and call for help for him?
No.
Did he walk away?
Then he hit me.
Hmm?
He hit me, then he walked away.
Where did he hit you?
My shoulder.
So after you hit him, he hit you in your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Did it hurt?
Oh, no.
No. Now I'll see the mothers. So now we have a relatively honest account of what happened that day. Deshaun over here acknowledges that for really no good reason he was teasing Jason, and he teased him more than once. And Jason acknowledges that he slapped him, didn't punch him, didn't pummel him, he slapped him on the face. His head pretty much accidentally hit a pole. That wasn't the intention. And then Deshaun hit him in the shoulder. Miss Mayfield, you want Miss Dudley to pay your medical bills for your son, right?
Correct.
Now, when were you notified that your son was hurt?
Well, actually what happened around 2:15, I was approximately maybe 5 minutes late from getting him. I pulled up. I have a newborn baby that was in the car. And I sat there for about 20 minutes waiting for Deshaun to come out of school. School was over when this incident happened. And Deshaun didn't come, so I picked up my cell phone and I called into the school to find out where my son was. I was notified that he was in the nurse's office, that the nurse had come to get him and brought him into her office, and they would be coming out. Well, Deshaun and the nurse came out, and the nurse gave me a suggestion to take him to the doctor. He, had vomited, nausea, whatever. At that time, I went to take the baby back to my house, which is just around the corner, so my daughter could watch him, and I could take Deshaun to emergency to get him checked out. Well, I noticed her car on my way out, and she lives next door. So I went to talk to her. Basically, all I would have ever needed was an apology or I'm sorry. All I want is what the emergency visit was. She agreed for me to submit a bill to her. I did do that through certified mail. I got a couple of phone calls from Mrs. Dudley, and she was very rude, arrogant, no tap.
And your bill was $99. Can I see the bill?
It.
Can I see the bill, please?
Yes.
Okay.
She asked me about my insurance. I told her that I was going to get this done private pay.
Why?
Where they get the bill. Here's the bill, an actual bill.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
Well, I told her that I was going to submit the bill to her because she said that she would pay it.
Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company? That's what you pay insurance for, is my question.
I didn't do that. I just took him to emergency.
No, I'm asking you a question. I mean, but that seems to me if you have health insurance, they would have covered this $99 because it was an emergency visit. Why didn't you submit the bill to your insurance company?
I just took him. And I have a doctor's statement here.
All right, take a look at it. Okay, the first thing here is a lie. It said this is a 7-year-old child who was hit by an older kid with a fist. You never hit him with a fist, right?
Mm-mm.
And he never hit you with a fist, is that right, Deshaun?
No.
No, he slapped you.
Your Honor, could we possibly ask the kids how hard did he hit him? I'm not quite sure, but for his head to hit a steel pole, I'd just like to know how hard.
How do you gauge that? Hard, very hard, medium soft? How do you gauge that? He certainly didn't punch him.
No, I'm not saying that he did.
He didn't punch him. There was nothing in this report that indicates that anything's wrong with him.
No, thank goodness he's okay.
Nothing. And I have a couple of questions for you. I'm not excusing him putting his hands on your son. Okay. You can't do that. What kind of punishment did you give to your son?
For teasing?
Yes.
Oh, me and his dad set him down, and we told him that that is not a proper thing to do.
Absolutely right.
No, most definitely. I don't
right.
condone it at all.
Absolutely right. Put your hand down. You paying attention?
Yeah.
This whole thing wouldn't have started if you hadn't started to tease Jason, right?
Yes.
Why were you teasing him?
I was just playing with him.
No, he wasn't happy about it. You knew he wasn't happy about it, right?
No.
This is not the first incident that has ever happened with Jason or Sean having problems, okay? I stopped him from coming to the house. My husband and I, we never discussed with Sean why he could not come into the house any longer by being disruptive and doing things. We just kind of just let the kids play outside whenever they met outside. He had no idea that Jason and him were no longer friends per se. He was still...
But he knew he couldn't come into the house.
Yes, he was aware that I did not want him to come into the house.
That he knew. Yes. Kids are smarter than you think. If you say that Jason can't come into the house, they know that there's a reason. You can play with him outside, but he can't come into the house. Put your hands down! What do you think, you're at the beach?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I sat in that emergency room while she fed her son Dorito potato chips on the same side of the mouth where she claims Jason had injured. So to me, it wasn't that severe.
And later today,
You mean to tell me that the other 40 people who showed up just showed up because they wanted to? Stop making a baby out of your daughter.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 8-year-old Deshaun Jenkins says 11-year-old Jason Dudley smacked him in the head, causing a concussion. Jason says Deshaun was teasing him about a girl.
Have you had any other difficulty with Jason in school?
No. Not. We've been neighbors for over 2.5 years, Your Honor. Okay, we never had any problems whatsoever. I didn't know that she had not allowed Jason to come over to the house because they were still playing. We live right across from the park, so they still play together out in the park. So I had no incidents or no knowledge whatsoever that she had forbidden. She never talked to me about it whatsoever. When she came to my house and asked me to pay for the emergency room bill, I told her no, I was not going to pay for it. Okay, so what I did was I followed her to the emergency room to find out, make sure she got to the emergency room. I followed her there. I sat in that emergency room while she fed her son Dorito potato chips on the same side of the mouth where she claims Jason had injured. So to me, it wasn't that severe. If she felt that he had a concussion.
He didn't have a concussion.
Right. Okay.
He didn't have a concussion. He had nothing wrong. He hit his head. He hit his head, and this whole thing was blown way out of proportion. That's what I think. The whole thing was blown way out of proportion.
I totally agree.
What had to happen is that these two young boys, now you can stand up next to your mother. These two young boys should be put together in one room with their parents in a coordinated effort, and in front of Jason, Sean has to be told, you don't tease other people, it's not nice.
True.
It makes them feel badly. And sometimes they don't react to it well. Sometimes they'll let it roll off their backs. You know what that means?
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll get very frustrated. And the only way that some people know how to react in a frustrated way is to use their hands, which you can't do. So that if he was teasing you, you have to turn around and say to him, that's a stupid thing to say, and walk away. But you don't use your hands, because using your hands, you look like a strong voice, you can get in trouble. Right?
Right.
You had no out-of-pocket expenses, Miss Mayfield, because I find that you didn't do the right thing by not submitting this bill to your insurance company, which would have paid the entire bill. You wanted to prove a point.
It's just the principle.
It's not the principle of the thing. That, you know, this happens with children all the time.
It has happened before.
I don't know what's happened before. What I'm telling you is this incident is an incident that was precipitated by your son. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was just the principle for me, and I'm basically happy that the judge had to inform this child that it is not the right thing to do to put his hands on another no matter what.
Learn not to tease people.
Not to hit people in the jaw.
I think that kids will be kids, and I hope that they could play together eventually someday.
And now the next case.
All parties on Brunner versus Coley Jones. Step forward, please.
12-year-old Sherry Brunner and her mother, 48-year-old daycare provider Lori Brunner, says Sherry was discriminated against by Junior Football League commissioners Calvin Coley and John Jones.
Is your claim that your daughter, I assume this daughter, was the victim of gender discrimination by the defendants when she was cut from the football team?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what this is all about.
Yes.
Tell me your first name.
Sherry.
What happened to your leg?
I had surgery.
For what?
I had a birthmark that was supposed to be cancerous.
When did you have that surgery?
August 11th.
Okay. Sherry, when for the first time did you try out for the football team?
I think it was 98.
Is this a school football team?
No.
A league?
Yes.
And were the defendants the coaches at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did you play at all the first year?
The first year, yes.
How many other women were on the team?
No one. I was
Just
the only
you?
one.
Do you like football?
Yes, I do.
And you got to play?
Yes.
When were there supposed to be the tryouts for the second year?
I think August.
Now, according to what I've read, Sherry, they have something that the defendants call Hell Week.
Right.
You know what that is?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what it is.
For a whole week that you do drills, push-ups, running, all that kind of stuff. It's like what you really don't want to do.
And everybody does that?
Yes.
But you didn't?
The first week, because I was at...
First week?
Right.
Tell me why you didn't go.
Because I was at New York visiting my grandma.
Did you discuss that with your coaches?
I discussed that with JJ, and he
Who's
said,
JJ?
I'm JJ.
Okay, you told JJ that you were not going to be there for Hell Week?
Right. And he said that that would be no problem.
How long did you spend with your grandmother?
For about 2 months.
So you were in New York the entire summer vacation?
Yes.
And when did you have to be back in school?
September 1st.
When was Hell Week?
The latter part of July.
You didn't return until when?
August 1st, the second week of practice.
Why didn't you come back a week early for your practice?
Well, what happens is my grandma already scheduled it for like a long time. She has frequent flyer mileage, and she schedules it for a long time. She schedules it from a long time before, so I knew when I was going to be back and everything.
Yeah, but you can change a frequent flyer ticket. You pay a little bit of a penalty.
It's difficult to change it.
No, you can't. You pay a penalty, like $50, and they let you change the date a week later, a week earlier. It's not a problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Nobody who made the team missed the entire week of Hell Week.
Nobody.
Right?
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 12-year-old Sherry Brunner says Football League commissioners Calvin Coley and John Jones discriminated against her by cutting her from the team.
So you didn't go to Hell Week, a week that everybody doesn't like, and you came back the following week.
Right.
And when you came back the following week, what happened?
I was supposed to be conditioned.
And what does that mean?
I have to have 10 hours of conditioning before I can put pads on, helmet, get my full gear.
Okay, and what happened?
Sometimes I ran for the whole practice. I did everything they asked me to.
And how many cuts were there?
I don't know.
How many
There were
cuts were
5.
there? Sherry was one of them.
Yes.
And I assume that since she was the only girl, the other 4 were boys.
Yes.
Were any of the other 4 boys that were cut boys that had been in the first year?
Yes.
How many?
One other veteran.
Now, were you told by Sherry sometime in April that she wasn't going to be able to be there for Hell Week?
She mentioned that to us, and we told her at that time that the prior year that she played in '98, we didn't have cuts because we didn't have that many kids. Our max allowance for kids is 35, and we were going over. Every year we were going higher and higher. And we explained then that that was a crucial time that she needed to be there because we had to anticipate more than 35 during that coming season.
You have your records with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Take a look. Tell me if any of the other 40 people missed the entire week of Hell Week.
We might need to ask the coach himself.
Okay,
He need to be the
take a
most
look.
important.
Tell me your name.
I'm Shani Guzman.
Tell me what you do for the team.
I was the assistant coach for running backs and quarterbacks. There's one kid here that missed 1 day, and another child that missed the first 2 days, but they made the team.
So the answer is nobody else missed the entire week. One missed 1 day, one missed 2 days, but nobody who made the team missed the entire week of Hell Week.
Nobody.
So prove to me discrimination when your coach is a woman, when nobody else made the team who had missed the entire week. Convince me that you were discriminated against.
I ran for about the whole practice, doing nothing but running, the whole field.
Yes?
Everybody was watching me.
Yes?
And that's about all I did.
She didn't get to join in most of the exercises. She did some, but that didn't happen to anybody else.
Is that
None
correct?
of the boys did that.
Your Honor, she had the condition. That's why she ran on that second week. She was behind the other players that had started a week ahead of her.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Well, that's what Sherry said. Sherry said that before you get into the pads and everything else, you have to do certain things, which she missed during the first week. Right?
Right.
What you want is special treatment for your daughter. Can't get that.
No.
They had every right in the world if she didn't show up according, I
Doesn't
assume
say
to them,
that.
I'm speaking. They had every right in the world to say you don't show up for Hell Week, you're not going to be even considered for the team.
There is no place in their rules that it says that. And it even
You knew
says,
about Hell Week, correct? Are you meant
Yes,
to
of
tell me
course.
that the other 40 people who showed up did not just showed up because they wanted to? Well, maybe
There
they
were a lot
had
of
more of
people
a
that didn't
desire.
show up.
Just a second. Maybe they had more of a desire to play. Your daughter had a desire to spend time in New York with her grandmother. Stop making a baby out of your daughter. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. Down, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Navarro Guillen versus DeMoss. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
You were driving, Michael. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And who are you?
I'm Debbie. I'm his wife. I was the passenger.
According to your complaint, Mr. Navarro, you were driving in a residential area near a park. This is in an area where you live.
Yes, I live.
You are very familiar with this park area.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Park area where there are a lot of kids.
Yes.
And you were driving there on a Saturday
Yes.
afternoon
I was.
when there was no school, so there were a lot of kids out, correct?
Yes.
And the defendant's little boy came on his bicycle, darting out of the park, causing you to have an accident.
Yes, correct.
The accident was that you hit his bicycle, he went flying up on the roof of your car, bounced off, landed on the ground, correct?
Correct.
You are suing his parents for the damage to your car.
Correct.
They are now counterclaiming for unreimbursed medical bills for their son. Is that right?
Your Honor, though, I brought proof. I brought the police report.
Just a second, I'm not finished. Okay. I conduct the trial, all right? Do you have children of your own?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
3 boys.
How old are they?
9, 4 years old, and 6 months old.
So the 9-year-old is the only one who rides a bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Does he ride in that park?
Yes, he does.
Is it a windy road around that park?
No, ma'am.
Straight road.
Straight road.
Are there a lot of trees in the area?
Yes, there is.
Are they tall trees?
Yes, they are.
And what is the speed limit in that area?
25 miles an hour.
And how fast was your car going at the time that you hit the defendant's son?
On the police report, it says 25 miles an hour.
Well, the police weren't present. You told the police how fast you were going.
Yes, but they also took an investigation, and they have some mechanism that determines how fast you were going. And
so they determined that you were going 25 miles per hour.
within the
I
legal
disagree
limit.
with that.
Now, you know what it means, posted speed limit?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean?
Means you must be going within that speed
Limit.
Or
you are breaking the law.
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't say you must go 25 miles an hour, right?
Right.
That means that the most you can go is 25 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell me the sequence of events up to the point where you hit this young man?
Alrighty, it was a Saturday. Baseball season was in effect. Picked up me and my wife, my boy after his game, went to go have some lunch. We're driving down the street. I especially pay attention to the part where the sidewalk comes to effect because I have my 9-year-old and I do live like 10 houses from where this did happen at. And so I'm driving down the street, you know, telling my boys, yeah, we're gonna get something to eat. Next thing I know, I seen this little boy just right in front of my car. So I slammed on my brakes, try to move left to avoid hitting the little boy. I catch him with the right-hand side of my van. He rolls up onto the van, looks at me, falls down. I immediately throw it in park.
Went onto the hood?
Yes, ma'am. I immediately threw it in the park. Me and my wife both ran out. She grabbed a sheet from the back seat, put it underneath his head, and we tried to take care of him and call 911.
But during the time of that whole incident, when the parents showed up, we explained to the parents, we were sorry that we hit the little boy, but he came out of nowhere. We also told him if we were at fault, we'd be more than welcome to pay for everything if we were responsible. When we see that police report, and if we weren't at fault, we would like to work something out with them. So
Well-
we waited till the police report came.
Let me see the police report. What kind of car were you driving?
2000 Nissan Quest.
You have insurance?
Yes, we did. We just barely drove it off the lot a week before that.
Good. What was your deductible?
500.
So why are you suing them for $2,500?
Because that's how much the damages were. When we found the police report...
Just a second. That may be how much the damages were, but your out-of-pocket expenses are only $500.
But see, what was going to happen if we contacted our insurance? If we were to pay the $500 deductible, our insurance would have gone up. Why should we have to pay for our insurance to go up if their son was at fault? So we both agreed that we were going to wait for the police report to come out. He also said on the telephone, Mr. DeMoss, that if the police report showed that his son was at fault, he would take full responsibility as being the father to that little boy, and him being out in the street and coming out in front of our car and we hitting him, that he was going to pay for it. So I waited. I waited till the police report came out. I contacted him. He says, I'm going to call my lawyer. So I waited another month. He says, I'm going to talk to my lawyer again. So finally, after 4 months went by, I said, you know what, I can't do this. My paint's starting to chip more. It's getting rust marks. It's a 2000 car. It's not fair that I have to get stuck driving a beat-up vehicle now. So that's when I took him to court.
If I was at fault, I wouldn't even have to be coming to court. I would just, any way I could help, because I mean, I felt bad. I hit a little boy. My son's the same age. But I mean, like I said, I was with my family. I was just driving down the street. I didn't know what to do after the accident happened, so I called the police. The police came, and I just go by what they said because, you know, they have all the special equipment supposedly to tell me who was going fast and if it would have been my fault and this and that. So I went by what the police report said.
There was also 2 other witnesses. The little boy and the little girl said that he did not look both
Don't tell
ways.
me what any witnesses that aren't here said.
Okay.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a pipe fitter, fire sprinklers.
Pipe fitter? And what kind of work do you do?
Cashier.
Now, Mr. Navarro, according to this police report, there were 39 feet of skid marks, locked wheel skid marks, before colliding with this little boy. That's quite a distance. So you weren't right on top of him when you saw him.
Yes, I was. When he popped out in front of me, I was from more than from your bench to right here. And
But
I
there were
slammed on the
skid
brakes.
marks already
My
on the
front,
floor.
my back brakes locked. As soon as they did, and it drug out from. Somehow, I asked them how they were going to do that, and so they were going to take away the distance from the van, from the front to the back tires, to determine how fast I was going. Because when I got there, I mean, when I got to the car and I looked at the skid marks, they looked long, and I was like, well, you know.
They are long.
Yeah, they
39, that's the only figure that they have here. It doesn't say how many feet the skid marks were prior to the collision.
No, those were them. The only skid marks that were there is what the police went by. So
39 feet of locked wheel skid marks.
and my
But was
van,
unable to stop prior to colliding with vehicle 2. That's he's vehicle 2. That's a lot of skid marks.
Yes, it is.
What I'm suggesting to you is, when I asked you earlier on, 25-mile speed limit is the limit which the law permits you to go in a certain area. But if you are familiar with an area, as you are, and are familiar with the fact that there are lots of children on their bikes riding around, children that don't always act responsibly, and you know that it's a Saturday afternoon in baseball season, so everybody's out, instead of going 25 miles an hour, you go 10 miles an hour. You go 5 miles an hour around the park, because you know where the kids exit from the park, right? There's a ramp, right?
Yes.
Most people think that the pedestrians are usually right. Well, in this case, this young man who's now going to stand next to his parents, stand up here, he was wrong. How old are you?
11.
You know you were wrong for not stopping and looking both ways before you came out of the park and down that ramp into the street, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It was a very foolish thing to do. You could have gotten yourself killed. He was wrong. He's 11.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
First thing I saw was that little boy on my hood. And I saw the helmet fly off. I saw the shoes fly off.
You are going too fast.
And later today,
She told me I shouldn't have paid my ticket. Her phone bill is more important than my ticket. And we started fighting.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Guillen and his wife Debbie Navarro say 11-year-old Ryan DeMoss was at fault in an accident while riding his bike. They are suing for damage to their car.
He's the same age practically as your son. If somebody hit your son while he was riding on his bicycle, who was going the speed limit in that neighborhood? And your son wound up with injuries. I mean, he fortunately wasn't seriously injured, but he was injured. How would you feel if the people who hit him said he should have been looking both ways?
I would have, if it happened to me, that's what you're asking me, I wouldn't even have to take it this far. I would have said, you know what, thank you for not killing my son. I'm sorry, it was his fault. You know, I just want you to know that whatever I can do, I'll do. You know.
Why should they do anything?
Well, if somebody hit my son and my son was at fault, I would at least offer to pay for what they did to the car. 'cause
You
it was
don't
my
think that you have any
responsibility.
responsibility, Mr. Navarro?
Yeah. I
What's
do.
your responsibility?
Being on that road, I would imagine, because nothing else I could have done. I mean, I could have
Sure,
gone
no,
into the
yes,
storm,
you
yeah.
could have. Well, that's your problem. You say there's nothing else you could have done. Look, I remember living in one of my lives in a cul-de-sac. You know what a cul-de-sac is?
Yes.
It's a dead-end street. And the posted speed limit in this little town where I lived was 25 miles an hour. Anybody driving around that cul-de-sac with their kids riding on their bikes at 25 miles an hour, I would consider driving like a lethal weapon. Because there are kids darting all over the place, and you say, well, I can drive 25 miles an hour here because that's the speed limit, right?
Yes.
It would have been like having a dangerous weapon. You think that that's right?
Well, it depends on the circumstances, I would imagine. Nobody, I mean, and this cul-de-sac is different from our street. I go by the limit. You know, I go where I can control my vehicle. Usually,
You didn't control your vehicle. According to this, it was 39 feet.
Well, yeah.
Twice the distance of this courtroom
Well, usually-
where they saw skid marks.
Well, usually somebody would at least try to look. I mean, why would you just go into the street? I mean, even if I was going 15 miles an hour.
I'm telling you that he was wrong.
So, I mean, what do you want me to say? I feel like they deserve, that I deserve for them to at least try to fix the vehicle. It was their son who was wrong. You know?
And Your Honor, I mean,
if it was my son, I would have offered to do the same thing. I don't know why everybody just...
As to their son's damages, I mean, right when I saw him, first thing I saw was that little boy on my hood. And I saw the helmet fly off. I saw the shoes fly off. The little boy had no shoelaces on his shoes, had no socks on his feet, had his helmet unbuckled. He had no elbow pads, no knee pads. He had no socks on, and his helmet not clipped. If he would have had at least some more safety, then he would not have gotten as hurt probably as he did.
If you're going at an appropriate rate of speed, consistent with what the circumstances of that neighborhood are, and it takes you 39 feet to stop your car, and even after you stop your car, there is such an impact from your car as to propel him to the hood of your car, knocking off his shoes and knocking his helmet off, you are going too fast. 25 miles an hour is the speed limit, the maximum. That doesn't mean you have the right to go 25 miles an hour and say, whatever happens when I'm going 25 miles an hour, it's not my fault. He didn't act responsibly. That doesn't mean his parents are responsible. You're partially responsible, and your partial responsibility will cost you your $500 deductible. Now, if your insurance goes up, I guarantee you, Mr. Navarro, you will drive slower in that area on a Saturday afternoon from now on. Right?
Yes.
Right. Now, as for your counterclaim, he was wrong.
Right, we agree.
He was wrong. And you have medical bills in the amount of $676.
Well, that haven't been paid.
By our insurance.
Right, insurance already paid over $1,300.
Okay. And he was injured besides.
Right, I have pictures if you'd like to see.
Sure.
We initially figured that since Ryan was partially wrong and we felt they were partially wrong, that we would pay for Ryan's medical bills and not try
And
to
Your
get
Honor, I'd also like to point out that this area, when he came out of the park onto the street, is a posted bicycle crossing.
I assume you've seen these photographs of his injuries.
I seen that day, and I will never forget. So I don't need
You don't have to see it again.
No, I don't.
You used up one of your lives. Do you understand that? If you were a cat, you'd only have 8 left.
Your Honor.
So you wear your helmet, and don't be a wise guy, and you put your helmet on. And I don't care what the style is. If you're riding a bicycle, you tie your shoes. Fortunately, scrapes and bruises, they healed. I assume it was a good lesson for you.
We told him he's the safest bike rider in Camarillo now.
Now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Bicycle crossing, lots of kids in the street, Saturday afternoon, you go 10 miles an hour till you get past the park.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Guillen and his wife Debbie Navarro say 11-year-old Ryan DeMoss was at fault in an accident while riding his bike. They are suing for damage to their car.
It's just like if you're driving on a parkway and the parkway says speed limit 65 miles an hour and it starts to pour, and if you get into a terrible accident and your defense is I wasn't speeding, I was going the speed limit, I would say jerk, because when it starts to rain it starts to get bad, your visibility gets bad. Instead of going 65 miles an hour you go 40 miles an hour. Nobody has to tell you that. You just use your common sense and do it. So it's the same way. You use your common sense. Bicycle crossing, lots of kids in the street, Saturday afternoon, you go 10 miles an hour till you get past the park. That's all.
Why is that excuse? You may step out.
I think it went just the way it should have. We were both at fault and we all agreed to it.
I think it was a fair decision by the judge, and they had concern when they hit me.
I was scared because I could picture my kid doing the same thing. And if that was to happen to my boy, I could imagine what those people would go through.
We're neighbors.
We're neighbors.
Sorry about all that.
I'm very sorry.
And now the next case.
All parties on Trotter versus Ward. Step forward.
30-year-old nursing student Cherie Trotter is suing former friend, 24-year-old homemaker Felicia Ward, for an unpaid telephone bill.
Miss Trotter.
Yes.
You and the defendant live in the same, uncross your arms. You and the defendant live in the same apartment complex. According to you, the defendant had asked if she could use your phone periodically because I assume your phone service was cut off. Is that right?
Correct.
And she said that you could use her phone as long as you paid the bill.
Yes.
And you got your bills.
Yes.
I assume that you have marked her long-distance calls.
Yes.
What was the total amount of her long-distance calls?
There were actually two bills. The first bill totaled to $238.20, and then she wasn't aware of the second bill because we had stopped speaking at that time. And by the time the second bill came out, it's $95.71.
And those are all long-distance calls?
Those are all collect calls from a correctional facility.
Okay. Who's in the correctional facility?
It was my fiance.
Okay. Can I take a look at the bill, please? Okay, show her the first bill, please. And show her the second bill, please. Those are all calls, collect calls. Those collect calls are all from your fiancé?
Yes. Him and a few other people that was incarcerated, that's from the apartments. But we agreed to pay the bill and everything. When the bill came out, she showed me the bill.
Just a second, I'll get to that in a second. So these are all your calls?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you make any payments on those bills?
No.
Why not?
Because when she showed me the first bill, we came to agreement, okay, I'll pay the bill. When I was ready to pay the bill, she wasn't ready. So I went to go pay a ticket that I had. She told me, when she come, like, days after, she come ask me, she come outside, she approached me, she say, well, what's up? Is you ready to go pay the bill? I'm like, no, I ain't ready yet. I went to go pay my ticket. She told me I shouldn't have paid my ticket. Her phone bill is more important than my ticket. I should have paid her bill. I said, no, I'm paying my ticket. Then like a week later, I had just got home from court, came in the house, was in my room, and my daughter came in the house and told me that, she said, came running in the house and said, Mama Cherie said she about to bust your windows.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your daughter came in the house and said, run that by me again.
That Cherie is about to bust my windows. And I came outside, I said, what you about to do? And she like, whatever your baby told you, that's what I'm about to do. So I went back in my house and I came back outside and we started fighting. And then after the fight was over, I told her I didn't want to fight her no more. So then she went in her house, she got a glass, she put a knife in her pocket, she came back outside. She was like, what's up now? Come back downstairs and all this. I'm like, no, I don't want to come back down. Everybody telling me that she got a knife in her pocket and everything. Then she threw a glass at my screen door. My 3-year-old son standing behind the door. She didn't care nothing about that. And she threw the little glass popped up through my door all on my baby and everything. And I'm like, you paid in full. She paid in full when she threw the glass.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $331.91.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Mr. David, you manage some residential property. According to what I gather in this complaint, the defendant lives in adjacent property, but property that you do not manage. Is that correct? And according to you, there have been numerous complaints about the animals that they keep.
Correct.
What kind of animals do they keep?
They have a Doberman, a pit bull, and a Doberman, Rottweiler.
What other animals do they have?
They used to have chickens and rooster.
And what kind, is this a residential area?
Yes, it is.
So it's not a farm?
No, no.
Shh, shh. I gather that they got rid of the chickens and the rooster.
Yes, they did.
But still keep the 3 dogs, which according to you have been barking at all hours of the day and night, and there have been complaints from your tenants.
You're correct.
At some point you claimed the defendant went into a tirade because somebody had called either the police or animal control, came over to your premises and damaged some property of yours that you manage.
Correct.
What kind of property?
The front screen door has been damaged beyond repair, and there's water inside the bedroom windows where she squirted water in the window. It took a tenant all day long to clean it up, dry the mattress and everything else.
Were you a witness to that?
No, it wasn't, no.
Who was?
The tenant, Mr. O'Brien.
Step up, sir. Now, can you tell me about this incident on the 17th of July?
Yes. Could I tell you what led up to it?
Yes.
When I moved in February of last year, it became an immediate problem that there was dogs that were vicious all the time. And I decided, well, I'm not going to go over and complain as soon as I moved in. It's not the way I want to introduce myself to my neighbors.
Did they live right next door?
Correct, which is also a house. It's not an apartment. So I gave it about a week or so. As I say, I didn't want to introduce myself as some irate neighbor. When I saw that it was continuing, I went to speak with Mr. Bill.
What was happening? What was continuing, sir?
Well, the dogs they attack the fence when anybody goes in the back. There's a the Rottweiler and the Doberman are penned up in the back, and they keep as it turns out, was an unlicensed and did not have shots, a pit bull that's chained in the driveway, which the defendant himself told me that they cannot put together because they will fight. So if they're not barking at whatever goes through the backyard, if it's a cat, if it's a squirrel, if it's any one of us, they attack the fence like junkyard dogs. And sometimes this begins at 6:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. And when I found out, as I talked to Mr. Villalonga, he tells me that there's nothing he can do about it when he goes out of town on the weekends, which turns out to be, throughout the summer, was at least 2 to 3 weekends every month. And when that happens, one might know that dogs are even more defensive when nobody's home, and then it's all day and it's all night. And so I tried to talk to the gentleman a few times.
This gentleman?
Yes, I did. And he said he would try to do something about it, which he never did. And I tried to talk to him a couple more times, maybe half a dozen times. Basically, nothing was done. So I told him I didn't want to go through animal regulation. I said, I want to be a good neighbor. Let's just work it out. And
Step up, sir.
And he totally ignored my requests. So finally, I had to go through animal regulation. And it's been going on since, as I say, March. And every step that we've gone through, every directive that they've given these people to do something about the dogs has been completely ignored. Nothing has been done, and I can show you the documentation.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
The City of Los Angeles found, after a hearing, by preponderance of the evidence, that your dogs were emitting excessive noise. You received that notification?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you the following questions, sir. First, you shall permanently remove the Staffordshire Terrier named Gidget from your property within 30 days of this notification. Has that dog been removed?
No.
You shall refrain from allowing any of your dogs to be outdoors on your property at any time from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. Have your dogs been outside of your property between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m.?
Not every night.
At all?
Some nights. I
okay. You shall ensure that your dogs are wearing an activated anti-barking collar at any time they are outdoors. Do they each wear an anti-barking collar?
Nope. I appealed the case. That's an appeal right now.
Yes. So?
So I'm waiting. The gentleman told me that I don't have to do anything.
Show me. Don't tell me what anybody told you,
It's
sir.
right here.
Show me proof that you do not have to comply with any of these regulations until your appeal is finalized. Do you have proof of that?
I have it right here on top.
Good. Can I see it, please?
Number 6 at the very bottom.
Did you ask her to point out where she says that she does not have to comply with the conditions of the order until the appeal is finalized?
On number 6, it says you must submit a signed statement affirming that you are willing and able to comply with the above listed terms. We signed and submitted the statement back to the hearing examiner at the City of Los Angeles, and his name is Hakeem.
Where does it say you don't have to comply until the appeal is finalized?
He told me that.
I don't care what he told. I don't believe he told you that, madam.
Well, he did.
Nowhere does it say that in that piece of paper, that you don't have to comply.
I checked
with
twice.
Show me in writing. Give me that.
I have the phone
Give me
number
that.
of the hearing examiner.
I don't care about a phone number.
Hakeem.
There. Did you understand what I just said? I don't care about a phone number. This does not say you do not have to comply. As a matter of fact, in the findings of fact that you just gave me, it says, you, sir, told the hearing examiner that he's the owner of the 3 dogs. He said he plans to give away the unlicensed pit bull in the near future, that he concedes his dogs sometimes bark in response to inappropriate stimuli, but he denied that they bark as often as claimed by the witnesses at the hearing. So, did you give away the pit bull?
No, ma'am. They cornered me. There was 5 of them. They cornered me, kicked her out of the courtroom.
Why did you tell the hearing examiner that you were going to give away the pit bull?
Because it was 3 hours into the court date.
You got a lot of excuses.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Property manager Virgil David says next-door neighbors Don Lamoureux and Ed Villalonga have refused to do anything about their barking dogs. Virgil is suing Don for vandalizing his property.
All right, now, tell me, sir, what happened on the 17th of July?
I woke up to her vandalizing my house. Animal regulation suggested that I should videotape some of this stuff so it can use that as evidence. So I had a camera in my bedroom window. It was about 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I heard the dogs going nuts, so I got up, I turned it on. As I turned it on, I observed this woman screaming. She came over to my house, proceeded to throw grapefruits at my bedroom window, turned on the hose in my backyard, started spraying that through my bedroom window, screaming obscenities, running around my house, goes to my front door, pounding and kicking, screaming at me to come on out, which of course I'm not, and I videoed that from the inside. She goes to my side door, screaming and pounding on the side door, come out, you effer, and all this stuff. And it opens up my mail slot, starts screaming through it like a lunatic.
Let me see it.
Tape.
Is that when the screen door was broken?
Yes. And there's some footage of what's led up of the dogs and all that. And if I could submit this to you, too, it has a description of the scenes on the tape.
I don't need a description. I can follow.
And we also have photos of the door.
Of the screen door.
Hey, Ed. I need to talk to you.
I don't got time for you.
Why's that?
I said I don't have time for you.
We got to talk about your dogs. This is when I go to my car.
Is that it?
Yes.
Could I see the damage to the screen, please? You have an estimate for the screen?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
The defendant says in her answer that she purchased another door. Is that correct?
Yes.
I purchased the door myself.
You purchased the door?
Yes, I did.
Where did you get the door?
At the hardware store. Wrapped in plastic, brand new, same size, everything. Here's the receipt
Could be
on
the
the day.
same size. I don't know if it's the same door. Did you consult with the plaintiff with regard to
He doesn't
what
want to
kind
talk to me.
So you didn't consult with the
He
plaintiff?
threw-
The attorney gave us terms to abide by,
He threw,
which were.
he threw the screen door over the fence into the front yard and left it there for us to replace it. That's the way he talks to me.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. People are trying to quietly enjoy their home, a home that they pay for, and because of your selfish, self-centered position with regard to your animals who were clearly out of control, you've denied this gentleman, who is not a plaintiff, the right to peaceful occupancy of his home. Madam, stop shaking your head. You look like an idiot. You look like an idiot. Dogs are supposed to be pleasant things to have around. They're supposed to be companions. Occasionally, if you need a dog as a watchdog, then you use a dog as a watchdog. You've chosen to use your dogs for some other purpose. So I don't give a rat's behind whether he won't talk to you or not. I have a letter here from your landlord. Don't try to talk over me, sir. You will lose. Guaranteed. I have a letter from your landlord. Your landlord begs you, please take care of the problem. You're a selfish, self-centered baby, because only selfish, self-centered babies would permit a circumstance to exist for a year where someone else who has tried to do things nicely has not been able to enjoy their home. Sit down. Sit. Your lawsuit, sir, seeks $154.67.
Yes, ma'am.
I wish it could be more. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Your Honor,
Yes.
may I say something, please?
Yes.
I offered to put up any door that was equal to the one they took off, free, do it myself. I never heard from these people for months. So therefore, I said, that's it. I changed my mind. let them do it.
Sir, listen to me. Some people just are a couple of short of a six-pack. Unfortunately, you got them living next door to you. I don't know what you can do. The only thing that I can suggest is that you sit down with their landlord and indicate to him that you would join him in sharing the cost or anything else and having these people evicted because they seem to not be able to abide by the law. Do you understand?
Thank you.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, at least we'll get the door fixed, hopefully. But I don't expect them to do anything about the dogs. Like I say, they've gotten all sorts of things from animal regulation to take care of it over a course of a year. You know, 4, 5, 6 different types of meetings we've had to go through, and they've ignored every single one of them. Ignored them, not tried to do anything, just ignored them.
And now the next case.
All parties on Rose versus Welch. Step forward, please.
42-year-old cosmetologist Janet Rose is suing her ex-mother-in-law, 61-year-old retired secretary Gloria Welch. Janet says Gloria gave away her dog at a car wash.
Miss Rose, the defendant is your former mother-in-law.
Yes.
Is this your daughter?
That's my daughter.
According to your complaint, you were going on vacation. Your daughter was going to watch your dog. You left to go to Florida. For some reason, your daughter didn't keep your dog, gave the dog to your former mother-in-law, who promptly gave the dog away.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be reimbursed substantially for the dog. This was a little Lhasa Apso?
Yes.
Step up. When did you have a conversation with your daughter?
On the 18th of September. And I told her I was leaving the next day. She said, no problem, just bring Lindsay over here and I'll watch her while you're gone.
Is that right?
Yes, but the arrangement, Your Honor, was that she was supposed to send for the dog. And when I did eventually call her and ask her to send for the dog, well, first,
she wasn't going.
I tried calling her.
I don't want. I'm not speaking to you.
And the first 3 times I tried calling her, I just got the machine. And
okay. On what day did you give the dog to your grandmother?
It was probably like the 25th or the 26th.
So we're talking about 6 days that you had the dog. Not a very long attention span. 6 days.
My apartment wouldn't allow me to have dogs in it in the first place, Your Honor. And that's why I only kept her for such a short amount of time. And on top of that, the dog did have a very foul odor to it, and she was stinking up the furniture, the carpet, everything. And I tried bathing her, but the smell wouldn't go away.
You didn't watch the dog very long for your mother.
I had to work every day.
You knew all of that. And even if your mother had said to you, I'm going to be sending for the dog, we're not talking about her abandoning this dog for months. We're talking about 6 days. Now, why did you give the dog to your grandmother?
Well, it was starting to